It's week number 8 of the Texas high school football season, and we have an absolutely stacked slate of spotlight games for you tonight with major standing implications hanging in the balance, and we'll be with you every step of the way to take you through what should be an absolutely fantastic Friday the 13th across the Lone Star State. Hello and welcome to Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight. Some great games we have tonight with some major standings implications. We'll get into that in just a moment. Nick Laupius with you here, and we are rejoined by Greg Powers here on the desk. It's so great to have you back.
Thanks for having me, man. Week 8, it's here right in the thick of the district schedule, and when you show those spotlight games, all the fans at home are going to be excited because we have a loaded slate this week, so it's going to be a wild ride tonight.
Yeah, a lot of really great games. Friday the 13th tonight. Maybe we'll see a little bit of crazy action on the field as we take a look at tonight's spotlight games. We'll start big showdown, Tomball versus Tomball Memorial. That should be a lot of fun. And again, these two teams right there at the top of the district standings. We got Anahuac versus East Chambers. That should be a lot of fun. China Springs taking on Waco La Vega. And we got Pottsboro taking on Winsboro, a couple of 6-win teams going at it head-to-head. And how about this, a huge one in 3A, Columbus versus Hitchcock. Both teams 7-0 in District 12 3A Division I. That should be a lot of fun. And then a big showdown here in DFW, Allen taking on McKinney. So again, a lot of very fun games that we'll be looking at tonight, and some of the guys that will be joining us throughout the show tonight on the call for some of these big games. We've got James Tritley on the call for Pottsboro and Winsboro. Gavin Moritz on the headset calling the Columbus versus Hitchcock game. We got Drake Toll and Cameron Stewart. Love the picture there, by the way. A little bit of Stepp Brothers action there. Waco La Vega taking on China Spring, and Ryan Fox on the call for Allen versus McKinney. So again, all these games with huge district standing implications, like we're right in the middle of it, week number 8. And I know all those games should be very exciting, but if you had to pick one or two, Greg, I mean, which ones are you really going to be keeping your eye on?
Columbus Hitchcock's going to be a banger, first and foremost. That's going to be a really fun game. But I have my eye on Allen McKinney. There's just so much implication surrounding that game here in the DFW Metroplex. McKinney head coach Marcus Shavers was a former Allen player, and a lot of people were down on Allen after an 0-2 start, but they have some talent coming back, some offensive talent in Kavion Sibley and Donnell Gee. Their team has started to shift. They've started to play better, and that's just going to be a slugfest, I think, there for potentially a district crown.
Yep. Yeah, and, when you mentioned it, first couple of weeks of the season, people are saying, oh, it looks like an off year for Allen, but week after week, they look to get stronger and stronger, so that will be a lot of fun. So a lot of great games tonight, but of course, we always have some exciting games Thursday night as we take a look now at one of those games on Texan Live. We had Bryan taking on Pflugerville Weiss, and the Vikings of Bryan would get started as out of the Wildcat. That's the junior wide receiver Terrence Lewis. 30 yards spinning away from traffic and able to burrow his way into the end zone. That got Bryan on the board with a 7-0 lead. And then we got Jax Brown, the junior quarterback, connecting with Jalen Brazel, who goes 41 yards on the pitch and catch to get Pflugerville Weiss on the board. Staying in that first quarter, it's going to be Jax Brown again. He's got so many weapons he can go to. This time it's with Lewis Hickman, 35 yards, who was able to reverse course, go back the other way, finds the end zone, and that makes it 14-6 Pflugerville in the first quarter. So a little bit of trickery, as that time it was Hickman able to find the end zone. Jax Brown again, this time he spreads the ball around. It's Adrian Wilson, 39 yards, makes it look easy. Pflugerville takes a 21-6 lead into the halftime break as we go now into the third quarter. We've been talking about Jax Brown the entire time. This time he connects with Jalen Brazel, the second time for him. 14-yard touchdown that time, and that made it 35-6 going into the fourth quarter. This time it's Jeffrey Moore giving the running back a little bit of action. He goes 27 yards, able to elude traffic into the end zone. 42 points unanswered for Pflugerville Weiss. Bryan would get back on the board late in the game as Titus Runnels will go 22 yards into the end zone, but Pflugerville Weiss would go with the 42-13 win over Bryan as they improve to 8-0 on the season. EJ Sanchez was on the call as we go to him for his recap of the big win for Pflugerville Weiss.
We've gone final here in Pflugerville. You see the backdrop behind me. That is the field, the home field of the Weiss Wolves, who came into this Thursday night matchup ranked number 18 by Dave Campbell, Texas football, and they did not disappoint. The only other undefeated team in the district, the Bryan Vikings, they beat them 42-13 behind a strong all-around effort by both sides of the football, starting with the defense, a defense facing an offense in Bryan, who came in averaging 31 points a game. They hold them to 13 points. Big plays made all night by Chad Otutu, Styles Goodman, Peyton Morgan, Brian Bacon. Those guys are the catalyst for this defense, and they have been all season long. Move over to the offensive side of the football. Jeffrey Moore, the senior running back, over 100 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns, 4 in the last 2 weeks. And you look at quarterback Jax Brown. Jax Brown, 3 touchdowns tonight to add to his total. Above 25 touchdowns now at this point in the season. Top 10 in 6A football. And the Weiss Wolves showing why they have made a scene in the top 25 rankings. And they're going to stay there for another week. Here, a 42-13 final from Pflugerville.
So yeah, Jax Brown with a hat trick there, 42 points for the Weiss Wolves. They improved to 8-0 on the season. You heard from E.J. Sanchez taking down the only other undefeated team in that district. Impressive win for the Wolves last night.
Yeah, no doubt. They're loaded with talent, and a guy who I love to see play in the trenches is defensive tackle Chad Otutu. He's committed to UNLV, and quite frankly, defensive tackles aren't supposed to be this active. He's always around the football. And on offense, they have a star like Adrian Wilson. They were without Jaquez Spradley-Dimps last night, but Jalen Brazel stepped up in his absence and made a lot of big plays for that team. They really got things cranking right now, so sky's the limit for Pflugerville Weiss.
Yep, 8-0, 4-0 in district play after that big win last night. We'll take a break. On the other side, we'll take a look if anyone can slow down Duncanville, as they were taking on a pretty good team last night. We'll take a look at those highlights on the other side of the break. You're watching week number 8 of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight.
There's only one state in the nation with 13 Division I FBS programs, and there's only one podcast that talks about every single one of them. Introducing the Dave Campbell's Republic of Football podcast, the most complete coverage of the Lone Star State. Join host Ishmael Johnson, Carter Yates, and Mallory Hartley live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. for the biggest news and weekly previews on all Texas FBS programs. Can't catch every college football game on Saturdays? We've got you covered with recap episodes Sunday mornings with senior writer Mike Craven checking in. Subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple. Strap in with your host Ishmael Johnson, producer Mallory Hartley, senior writer Mike Craven, and college writer Carter Yates for a ride that'll last from now throughout the season.
Need your daily football fix? Look no further than Texas Football Today, the daily live show from the people that bring you Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Every weekday at noon, Greg Tepper and Ashley Pickle bring you the latest news, deep dive analysis, insightful interviews with big-name guests, and more. And if you ever miss an episode, you can subscribe to the Texas Football Today podcast to keep up with all the fun. Don't miss Texas Football Today every weekday at noon at texasfootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and subscribe to Texas Football Today wherever you get your podcasts. Nobody covers Texas high school football like Stepp and Stepp, the premium high school football podcast from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Dig deep into the sport in every corner of the state with high school football insider Matt Stepp and managing editor Greg Tepper, with game previews, unique insights, and bold predictions. Get Stepp and Stepp by becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber at texasfootball.com/subscribe.
We might not be good at many things, but there is one thing that we crushed, and that's naming a stinking podcast. WTF. Yes, it's exactly what you're thinking. Women talking football. Oh, you thought it meant something else? You might be right. Tune in every Thursday at 2 p.m. as me, Ashley Pickle, and everyone's favorite Mal pal, Mallory Hartley, bring you in-depth analysis of every region of the Lone Star State, talk ball with reporters across Texas, get the real scoop from coaches' wives, and all the other nonsense that comes along with the two of us being allowed to talk into a microphone. Join the party Thursdays at 2 o'clock on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football YouTube page.
Welcome back into Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight, and let's head out to Vernon Newsom Stadium, where the Duncanville Panthers were taking on the Mansfield Tigers. It was the Keelan Russell show to start this game off, and the junior quarterback committed to SMU finds Zachary Turner, the sophomore tight end wide receiver, the jumbo option in that Duncanville offense, for a 31-yard touchdown to get the scoring going out there at Vernon Newsom Stadium. And it would probably mostly be all Duncanville from there, as you'll see Caden Durham here, the LSU running back commit, 13 yards to pay dirt here to extend the Duncanville lead to 16-0 in the first quarter. But they weren't done yet, as Keelan Russell dials up a touchdown pass here to, looks like that is Corian Moore. Oh, no, but it was Zach Turner again for his second touchdown of the night. Here you go, is DeCorian Moore dialing one up here from 5 yards out. Keelan Russell finds him to go up 30-0 in the first quarter over Mansfield. Moore would get his chance to catch another touchdown ball from Russell here in the corner of the end zone, pushing that Duncanville lead 37-0. 5 touchdowns on the night from Keelan Russell and the Duncanville Panthers through the air. 51-0 district win there for Duncanville in a rout out at Vernon Newsom Stadium. We have Mitch Mason with more.
Well, Austin, a big victory tonight from Duncanville, a shutout 51-0 over the Mansfield Tigers. It's a big district win for Duncanville, their 45th straight, and they were aided by Keelan Russell, who had another amazing night at quarterback.
Yeah, Keelan just looked phenomenal, really from start to finish, just so poised in the pocket, exactly what head coach Rhett Lashley at SMU would like to see out of his quarterback. Just led his generals and led his troops all night long. Very, very impressed with what we saw from Duncanville tonight.
Duncanville was able to move the ball through the air, on the ground as well. Caden Durham had another impressive first half. Trey Mosley caught a lot of attention in the second half, a talented sophomore running back for Duncanville. This is as deep a team as you're going to find in the state of Texas. And another shutout. What impressed you the most about Duncanville's defense?
Really just the way they carry themselves on and off the field. Really no let up at all the entire game. Obviously taking a lot of pride in keeping Mansfield out of the end zone, and obviously prevailed today with a big district W. 45
straight district wins for head coach Reginald Samples and the Duncanville Panthers. They will take on Dallas Skyline next Thursday night. For Mansfield, they're fighting for their playoff lives next week against Waxahachie. You can watch all of that right here on Dave Campbell's Texan Live.
Well, it doesn't look like anyone has been able to slow them down so far, in 51 unanswered for Duncanville, keeping Mansfield off the board. I mean, what else can you say about this Duncanville team that hasn't already been said?
They've got a lot of D1 prospects, right? They've got DeCorian Moore and Caden Durham, and of course Colin Simmons, who is heading to Texas. But I want to give a shout out to the guys in the middle of that defensive front. Alex January and Javian Council, they really control the action. They are what really stems the tide when another offense wants to get their ground game going. They just can't, because there's a 275-pound and a 310-pound monster in the middle of the defensive front. And then, of course, what they do up front on the offensive line is very special. They had to replace a lot of talent from last year's team, but guys like Baylor commit Deshaun Bryant, who's just a junior, hasn't missed a beat. So Duncanville's loaded. They're a definite state championship contender. As a matter of fact, I categorize them as the favorite in 6A Division I.
Yeah, so another impressive win for Duncanville. That concludes kind of the look back to Thursday night, as now we'll start to look at some of these big games on Friday night, these spotlight games. Some of those already in action, but of course, hey, we got Greg Powers with us here, so that means on the other side of the break, we've got a special edition of the Crouton Corner coming up next, right here on Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight. Stay with us.
There's only one state in the nation with 13 Division I FBS programs, and there's only one podcast that talks about every single one of them. Introducing the Dave Campbell's Republic of Football podcast, the most complete coverage of the Lone Star State. Join host Ishmael Johnson, Carter Yates, and Mallory Hartley live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. for the biggest news and weekly previews on all Texas FBS programs. Can't catch every college football game on Saturdays? We've got you covered with recap episodes Sunday mornings with senior writer Mike Craven checking in. Subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple. Strap in with your host Ishmael Johnson, producer Mallory Hartley, senior writer Mike Craven, and college writer Carter Yates for a ride that'll last from now throughout the season.
Need your daily football fix? Look no further than Texas Football Today, the daily live show from the people that bring you Dave Campbell's Texas football. Every weekday at noon, Greg Tepper and Ashley Pickle bring you the latest news, deep dive analysis, insightful interviews with big-name guests, and more. And if you ever miss an episode, you can subscribe to the Texas Football Today podcast to keep up with all the fun. Don't miss Texas Football Today every weekday at noon at texasfootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and subscribe to Texas Football Today wherever you get your podcasts. Nobody covers Texas high school football like Stepp and Stepp, the premium high school football podcast from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Dig deep into the sport in every corner of the state with high school football insider Matt Stepp and managing editor Greg Tepper, with game previews, unique insights, and bold predictions. Get Stepp and Stepp by becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber at texasfootball.com/subscribe.
We might not be good at many things, but there is one thing that we crushed, and that's naming a stinking podcast. WTF. Yes, it's exactly what you're thinking. Women talking football. Oh, you thought it meant something else? You might be right. Tune in every Thursday at 2 p.m. as me, Ashley Pickle, and everyone's favorite Mal pal, Mallory Hartley, bring you in-depth analysis of every region of the Lone Star State, talk ball with reporters across Texas, get the real scoop from coaches' wives, and all the other nonsense that comes along with the two of us being allowed to talk into a microphone. Join the party Thursdays at 2 o'clock on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football YouTube page.
Welcome back into Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight, and it's my favorite segment, the Crouton Corner. And this week we're going to take a look at some of the top offensive linemen in the state of Texas. And right here at the top, you're going to take a look at number one. That is Max Anderson, Frisco Reedy offensive lineman, 6'5", 300 pounds. He's made his verbal commitment to Tennessee. And what I love about Max Anderson is he is a technically sound offensive lineman. He rarely makes mistakes. He always knows what to do. He has versatility playing tackle last year, moved inside to guard this year, where his brother Nathan Anderson, who's a University of Oklahoma offensive lineman, plays in college. So he also has the pedigree to be a really talented player at the next level. Looking down the list, Casey Poe is at number 2, and he's really challenging Max Anderson for the top spot right now. Lindale's offensive lineman is committed to Alabama. He's about 300 pounds himself, 315 pounds, really long arms, could play tackle or guard in the SEC. Blake Frazier, the son of Steve Frazier, who started Michigan. Blake's going to follow in his father's footsteps, and he's going to play at Michigan as well, where he's made his verbal commitment. Weston Davis, down at Beaumont United, is on his way to Texas A&M. And now we're going to come to Daniel Cruz, the University of Texas offensive center commit, 6'4", 270 pounds. He's going to be a 4-year varsity starter at Richland. He's the number 25 prospect in the Lone Star State and the number 1 center in the state. I think he's the number 1 center in the entire country. Just take my word for it. He's really, really good. He gets a ton of pancake blocks, and what the guys like to say now is he's squashing roaches out there, and he gets one about every 5 plays. He's always racking up a lot of sacks. Daniel Cruz is a big-time pickup for Hookem. Looking down the list, you got number 6, Bennett Warren, number 7, Ashton Funk, and number 8, Makai Sina. Coming to number 9, where I got to give my sleeper pick, and that's Blake Ivy from Clear Springs. He's made his commitment to Texas A&M, and the A&M Aggies are getting a player who could play literally anywhere up front. Experience playing right tackle and left tackle at Clear Springs. He's got an 84-inch wingspan. He also has the size of an offensive guard and the power in his lower body to play there. When you can bring in a player that can play anywhere up front, that adds to your roster flexibility, and that's what Blake Ivy's bringing to the table, and that's why he's my sleeper at number 9. But guess what? He's a 4-star prospect himself. So stick with us right here as we're going to take you to the vlog where we were all out over the state and taking on some of the top games in the state last week.
What's up, y'all? It's week 7 of the Texas high school football season. I can't believe it's already week 7, but here we are. We're starting to talk playoff scenarios and all that good stuff. And hey, it's Thursday night, so we got a football game. It's a special game. Because not only am I in Arlington, the home of our good friend Matt Wilson, but I get to watch my alma mater, my Everman Bulldogs play Arlington Seguin tonight in a big District 5 5A Division II matchup. So fired up to see my Bulldogs play. Got to get the old alma mater out there and check out some football. But first, here at Mariano's in Arlington, gonna grab me a little pregame meal in this rental car. Long story there, but hey, we're making it. I'm in a rental, but we're gonna get the truck fixed and in the shop and ready to go. And I'm gonna eat some good Mexican food pregame. So let's head on into Mariano's and get some grub.
It's homecoming in Arlington. This is the Seguin Cougars get ready to take on the Everman Bulldogs. Still about an hour before kickoff. Stadium's empty. There'll be a crowd here in about 30 minutes or so. Last one on the field here in Arlington. After the Thursday night game, Everman beats Seguin 35-19. We'll see y'all tomorrow on the Friday night video blog. Hey y'all, it's Friday night, week 7 of the Texas high school football season. I'm out here in Mesquite, gonna grab a bite to eat pregame, and I'm headed to Seagoville for tonight's game between Woodrow Wilson and Seagoville. Big game in Dallas ISD. Should be a lot of fun. I'm here at Bubba's 33. My truck is fixed, but I'm still driving the rental because why would I put miles on my truck? Yeah, it's gonna be a good night, and then tomorrow I'm headed to Canada for Thanksgiving. So got my hoodies ready to go. It's gonna be cold up there, so it'll be a busy weekend, but it's always fun. Let's do this. Got the pregame meeting here with Coach Fish and Coach Jackson with the officials. We're gonna do the coin toss now, so we're getting ready. Friday night, Seagoville and Woodrow Wilson. Big game in District 6 5A Division II. Seagoville getting warm-ups in pregame here.
I just watched a banger between Longview and Forney. The Longview defense stood up at the last second on a goal line stand. Basically, Forney had first and goal to go to win the game down 13-7. The Longview defense stepped up to be able to pull out a miraculous win to go 3-0 in district. Huge win for John King and the Lobos, but the Forney Jackrabbits showed a lot of heart tonight, man. This is a team that has a lot of talented players like Kelvion Riggins, class of 2025 linebacker. Aaron Flowers, an Oregon commit, amazing. Had a couple of huge plays. And Forney really had Longview's back against the wall. Jeff Fleener's got that program headed in the right direction. But John King's Lobos were able to pull it out once again, extending that district run here. It's a very good district run here for John King. This is going to be a team that contends for the state championship. I'm interested to see how these two teams do in the playoffs.
There's only one state in the nation with 13 Division I FBS programs, and there's only one podcast that talks about every single one of them. Introducing the Dave Campbell's Republic of Football podcast, the most complete coverage of the Lone Star State. Join host Ishmael Johnson, Carter Yates, and Mallory Hartley live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. for the biggest news and weekly previews on all Texas FBS programs. Can't catch every college football game on Saturdays? We've got you covered with recap episodes Sunday mornings with senior writer Mike Craven checking in. Subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple. Strap in with your host Ishmael Johnson, producer Mallory Hartley, senior writer Mike Craven, and college writer Carter Yates for a ride that'll last from now throughout the season.
Need your daily football fix? Look no further than Texas Football Today, the daily live show from the people that bring you Dave Campbell's Texas football. Every weekday at noon, Greg Tepper and Ashley Pickle bring you the latest news, deep dive analysis, insightful interviews with big-name guests, and more. And if you ever miss an episode, you can subscribe to the Texas Football Today podcast to keep up with all the fun. Don't miss Texas Football Today every weekday at noon at texasfootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and subscribe to Texas Football Today wherever you get your podcasts. Nobody covers Texas high school football like Stepp and Stepp, the premium high school football podcast from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Dig deep into the sport in every corner of the state with high school football insider Matt Stepp, and managing editor Greg Tepper. With game previews, unique insights, and bold predictions. Get Tepp and Stepp by becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber at texasfootball.com/subscribe.
We might not be good at many things, but there is one thing that we crushed, and that's naming a stinking podcast. WTF. Yes, it's exactly what you're thinking. Women talking football. Oh, you thought it meant something else? You might be right. Tune in every Thursday at 2 p.m. as me, Ashley Pickle, and everyone's favorite Mal pal, Mallory Hartley, bring you in-depth analysis of every region of the Lone Star State, talk ball with reporters across Texas, get the real scoop from coaches' wives, and all the other nonsense that comes along with the two of us being allowed to talk into a microphone. Join the party Thursdays at 2 o'clock on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football YouTube page.
Welcome back to Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight. We got some highlights rolling in now as we are well underway in week number 8. Let's take a look now. We've got some highlights. Jersey Village rolling in the first quarter, taking on Cy Creek. This is Adam Tran able to connect with Din Hun, who evades a couple of tacklers, spinning away and goes all the way into the end zone. 50-yard touchdown pitch and catch to get Jersey Village up early, 7-0. Now you have Cy Creek trying to respond as they are marching down into the red zone. This is going to be Austin Honeycutt, the quarterback, drops back looking to the back of the end zone and underthrown, intercepted by Javante Cleburne. A big turnover for Jersey Village, and they respond as Quentin Jones goes to the left. A nice run of 30 yards as he's able to showcase the speed. Gets out of bounds just outside of the 10. That sets up some great action into the red zone as Jones follows up his long run. This time he'll do it. 15-yard touchdown run, almost untouched, and that made it 14-0 Jersey Village. And we'll stick with Jersey Village again. Some more highlights as the quarterback, Honeycutt, gets met hard, hit hard, picked up, scoop and score. Donovan Holmes scoops it up. 21 unanswered points to start out the game for Jersey Village over Cy Creek. So a couple of turnovers early for that Jersey Village defense as now we take a look at some of the scores at 1A Division II as well. We'll take a look there. A couple of scores, a little bit surprising, but so far a couple of games, no scoring. And yeah, again, we got a good one, Rochelle and Richland Springs. Top 10 matchup there, a 19-8 lead for Richland Springs. And again, we are doing this just to keep you informed on the entire playoff picture all throughout the different levels of Texas high school football. So there we see a couple of those there, 1A Division II. And here we go. We've got the quad box going now. So we got a couple of games in action. We take a look. How about this? A little bit surprising. Pottsboro and Winsboro was an early 21-7 lead for Winsboro, but Pottsboro able to respond, and we got some plays now right inside of the red zone. So again, we've got some very big matchups on our spotlight games tonight, and that being one of our spotlight games. We have East Chambers and Anahuac. That one's scoreless almost at the end of the opening quarter. And McKinney and Allen, that one, Allen with the lead early on in that contest. So you were talking about, you know, a lot of people were kind of writing Allen off early in the season, saying it looks like it's going to be an off year for him, but they've got a strong start against McKinney going into the latter part of that second quarter.
Yeah, it looks like Winsboro was able to cash in a touchdown there to extend their lead by 21 points. And Allen is a team that I think people are sleeping on a little bit right now because they have a lot of talent and they have a great coaching staff. So, I mean, this is a team that's going to continuously get better. But I'm here to tell you, McKinney's not going away. Their defense has been super impressive throughout the course of the season. They have a lot of talented players on the defensive side of the ball, including Xavier Filsamy, the number one rated safety in the Lone Star State, who actually scored a 69-yard touchdown tonight to get the scoring going for the McKinney Lions. So he flipped over when the team needed him to play some offense. As a matter of fact, he burst onto the scene and was the cover boy for his classification in the DCTF Rising magazine 3 years ago. So Xavier Filson, he's a guy who has a lot of experience, and he can play on either side of the football. But, of course, he's committed to Florida to play safety.
And you have Allen and McKinney, both those teams 3-0 in district play so far. Of course, you have Prosper wedged in between the two of them. All three of those teams, McKinney, Prosper, and Allen, 3-0 on the season. What's been a very fun district to watch so far, District 5, 6A.
We've got Denton Geyer in there, too. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's a very, there's going to be a lot of good games that we're tapped into in that district.
And so, again, that one, Allen, a strong start in that first half of that game so far. And then we were looking at Hitchcock and Columbus. That's a very fun game. Both those teams 7-0. And Columbus looks like they have the lead in that first quarter of that game. That should be a lot of fun to keep up with. China Spring 14-7 lead over Waco La Vega. So we're taking a look at some of those games now on the quad box. But again, it's very exciting tonight because all of these, some of these teams trying to create a little bit of separation in those district standings.
Well, I'm really interested in this Columbus-Hitchcock game because you really have two different styles of teams clashing up here. You have a team led, and two great quarterbacks, Nick, by the way. Adam Schobel for Columbus, he's committed to Baylor. He's the son of Columbus head coach Matt Schobel, who played at TCU. So his son's committed to Baylor. That's an interesting dynamic. And then you have Chubby Jones on the other side for Hitchcock, who is a very talented quarterback in his own right.
Yeah, so you see a 14-8 lead for Columbus to start out there in the second quarter. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun and a lot of playmakers. And you're taking a look at a couple of those big names.
That's Lloyd. They call him Chubby Jones, the third, out at Hitchcock. What I really like about Lloyd Jones is that he is a quarterback who continues to make year-over-year improvement. He's not satisfied just to be good enough, right? He wants to be great, and you can see that with the way that he attacks the game. And we'll go ahead and get a listen in here as you see Jones making a play.
10-1 run by Lloyd Jones the third. It'll be first and goal. Hitchcock coming up from just inside the 7 on the best run of the night so far from the Bulldogs, courtesy of the junior quarterback. We go inside of 11 minutes here to play in the second quarter. First and goal here from the Columbus 7 for the Bulldogs. Jones fires near side. It is caught and out of bounds inside the 5 to about the 3. With the catch and slow to get up is Damian McDaniel. McDaniel appears to be shaken up as the catch was made down to the 3-yard line. The training staff will come over. We'll step aside with 10:39 here to play in the first half.
Dave Campbell's Texan.
All right, so looks like, that getting into the red zone should be exciting, but it looks like we've got our first guest of the night early on. We got Matt Stepp joining us. He's got that Lake Belton and Granbury. Oh, maybe not. We'll wait just a second on that one.
While we wait for Stepp, there was some interesting development in that Hitchcock game. They said that Damian McDaniel was shaken up, and for those of you at home that don't know, Damian McDaniel was one of the best two-way players in the entire state. He was the player for Hitchcock last year that made the miraculous touchdown catch in the playoffs to lead them to the next game. He plays both sides of the ball, cornerback and wide receiver. He's committed to UNLV. And I love the nicknames at Hitchcock. They call Lloyd Jones, the quarterback, Chubby. Damian McDaniel's nickname is Baby D. So they got some pretty cool nicknames that some of these players have earned out there at Hitchcock.
Yeah, Gavin Moritz on the call for that game, Columbus and Hitchcock. We'll see how that one plays out. But now I do believe we have Matt Stepp joining us. He's got the Lake Belton and Granbury game as we welcome in Matt Stepp. Thank you again so much for joining us. And it looks like early on, Micah Hudson already putting on a show, probably to no one's surprise.
Yeah, Micah Hudson is going, as we like to say, full Micah Hudson tonight. He's got 4 catches for 149 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also has a punt return of 43 yards. That set up another Lake Belton score as the Broncos are romping here at Pirate Stadium in Granbury, 38-0 at the half. Lake Belton came in as a big favorite in this game, and they're living up to the hype right now. They're just completely dominating an overmatched Granbury squad tonight.
I got to ask you, Stepp, how many of those videos did you get of Micah Hudson's touchdowns?
Well, the first one I missed because I was eating some fried chicken, as you can understand, and then the second one, I did not have the phone ready in time, so I've let you down, Powers. I've missed both of them so far.
Shout out to Granbury for the Babes chicken dinner that you had in the pregame. So that was pretty cool. I saw your tweet. Just kind of talk about the quarterback play for Lake Belton, because they lost their quarterback from last year. I think heading into this season, that was one of the big questions for their team is could the quarterback step up and get the ball effectively to guys like Micah Hudson, and it seems like he hasn't missed a beat.
Yeah, Eli Mascarenas is the quarterback for Lake Belton, and he really improved during the 7-on-7 season when we watched Lake Belton. They qualified for state 7-on-7, and as the summer progressed, you could see him really maturing and leading this Lake Belton offense, and he's picked it up during the season. He throws a great deep ball. That's one thing I have noticed about him is he does throw an excellent deep ball, and he moves around in the pocket well. So he's done a good job leading this Lake Belton offense.
One thing that I've noticed when I've been watching some of these games is Lake Belton is without Javion Wilcox. Of course, he was the star on the defensive side of the ball. And next week they have a matchup with Midlothian, who features one of the top-rated wide receivers in the country, Bryant Wesco. Who are they going to turn to maybe slow down Wesco next week? Is there a guy on that defense we should keep an eye on?
I think it's got to be Selman Bridges, the corner who's committed to OU. He's a tall, long corner, so he's a little bit of he's almost reminds me a little bit of Richard Sherman from his days at the Seattle Seahawks. That bigger, more physical corner who can run in space, and I think it's going to be a fun matchup to watch next week. Granbury's a very run-heavy offense, running a lot of option, trying to milk the clock and keep the ball away. So I'm actually interested in watching Bridges come up and get his nose dirty and run support. He's done a good job coming up, being physical, playing the run, which is something you want to see from a bigger corner like him.
Give us the lay of the land in that district, Stepp. I mean, how does it play out? What is next week's Midlothian Lake Belton game? I think Red Oak's undefeated. What needs to happen there for someone to unseat them? Is there still a chance?
Red Oak has a head-to-head win over Lake Belton already. I don't believe they've played Midlothian yet. So if you're a Lake Belton fan, what you're hoping is you can beat Midlothian and then hope Midlothian beats Red Oak, and you kind of come out on the top end of a tiebreaker. But even if Midlothian can't upset Red Oak, this is a huge game because the winner of Midlothian and Lake Belton is most likely going to get the 2 seed in District 4 5A Division I, which means they'll get to host a first-round playoff game. And for Lake Belton especially, that's a huge advantage to get a Metroplex team to have to travel down to Central Texas to play in the first round of the playoffs. So if you're Lake Belton, you want to get that home field advantage in round 1.
Yeah, and I think that one of the games that you're trying to avoid there in the playoffs is an early round matchup with Aledo that's potential for some of those teams in that district as well. That's why Matt Stepp's the best in the game, man. You just ask him a question, he can dial it up, man. Thanks, Matt, for the time, and we look forward to checking in with you later on possibly.
And he's got front row seats to Micah Hudson, so that's
it's a fun show to have a ticket to right there, and especially if you have a Babe's chicken dinner to get it started with. Matt's living the dream out there in Granbury.
That's pretty good. Yeah, so impressive stuff by Lake Belton as we'll take a look at some more games. We got China Spring and Waco La Vega. And how about this? Able to find the end zone, and an extra point away La Vega is from tying things up with China Spring. Going back, Winsboro, 2-possession lead over Pottsboro. We got a strong run now getting over to the outside and going to find the end zone. And so Winsboro, the offense, continuing to roll. Another big touchdown, that time doing it on the ground.
Yeah, that was this is an impressive game right here. But I felt like we were talking about this game 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And there's already been 2 touchdowns since, Winsboro went up by 21 points. They've extended that lead to 20 points. But it looks like the fireworks in that game are just getting started. And then here we go to a defensive battle.
Yes, yeah. Well into the second quarter, East Chambers and Anahuac, no score, but it looks like East Chambers threatening now. They are inside of the 25-yard line.
And Anahuac's got some impressive players on their team. I think that you're looking at number 5 there on the edge. That's Quandre Coates. He's a 6'5", 230-pound, 235-pound tight end defensive end for them, a guy who is very involved on both sides of the ball, and they're going to be looking to him to possibly shut this drive down. but at least East Chambers has a chance to punch in a touchdown or potentially put 3 points on the board here. And in a defensive battle, every point matters.
Yeah, and for East Chambers right now, 4-2, looking to get a big win and trying to move into one of those 4 spots in the district standings. We take you now to the guys on the call right there for East Chambers and Anahuac.
Now the Buccaneers within 15 yards of pay dirt.
Well, it just goes to show you how bad each team wants the win here tonight.
Shotgun. Hayden Reeves is going to keep it. The direct snap is going to pick up 4 more. Yeah, 4 more will bring it 3rd down and 2.
And I watched them do that direct snap play to Reeves a couple of times against Kirbyville. And very effective play for the East Chambers Buccaneers.
Reeves a pretty big body down there for the Bucks.
And definitely a long drive here, and the defense is starting to huff and puff a little bit.
3rd down and 2. As this is going to be a different runner again, and he's going to take it into the end zone for a touchdown. No, they're going to mark him at the 2.
So he did step out. And that is number 4, Jaden Thibodeau, once again.
So Thibodeau picks up 10. 1st down and goal from the Panther 2.
And now the East Chambers Buccaneers pressing.
This will be the 13th play of this drive that started with just over a minute remaining in the 1st quarter. Bunch formation out of the gun. And Reeves is going to keep it into the end zone from 2 yards out. Touchdown, Buccaneers.
And like you said, what a methodical drive there by the East Chambers Buccaneers to finally put 6 on the board here with 7 minutes to go in the 2nd quarter. And it was mostly Reeves and Fontenot on that, 14-play drive?
14 plays. I'll have to do some Humble ISD math here shortly on the time of possession. Avila on to put up the extra point is through and true. So with 7 minutes remaining in the 1st half, the Bucks have struck first. Your new score, 7-0. Back after this on Anahuac Sports Live.
Gore Propane.
Hayden Reeves with the score that time for East Chambers to put them up 7-0 over Anahuac. Again, one of our spotlight games. It's been a lot of fun. A lot of action still to go as we got some more highlights rolling in now as we take a look. We've got a good one going between Pearland and Dawson. So we take a look at some of those highlights from the 1st half. We got a 7-7 score in the 2nd quarter, and this is going to be Bryce Burgess able to get wide open. He takes it to the house. This is a 40-yard connection, and that puts Dawson ahead 14-7 with the explosive play. Pearland would respond, though, as LaDamian McDowell takes the fake handoff, 25 yards, able to push it up, so a strong play for Pearland. They would be stopped as Dawson's defense would get a big stop. And then an interception for Dawson right here into the end zone. Cole Morkowski.
We're going to go out to Hebron now where we have the Hawks taking on Flower Mound, the Jaguars, and we have a sack by number 11 there for Flower Mound early in the 1st quarter, setting the pace for the Jaguars. Hebron would respond, though, as you see Preston Crouton finding Sheldon Armour, who weaves through some traffic, breaks a tackle, breaks another tackle, and finds some daylight as he cashes it into the end zone to make this a 7-0 game for Hebron. Flower Mound's Carter Massey here takes the jet sweep, 10 yards for a score to make this a tie ball game. The extra point would be good. 7-7 between Hebron and Flower Mound. To the 2nd quarter we go. Flower Mound is going to take a big shot here for the end zone, and you're going to see that this ball is going to be tipped, and a miraculous interception there by the Hebron defensive back. Couldn't take it the distance. That would have been cool to see a 103-yard touchdown run back, but a good interception there, and we have a 7-7 score right now in the second quarter between the Jags and the Hawks.
And it looks like we have a halftime game as Allen and McKinney, of course, one of our big spotlight games. And so far, it looks like Allen with a 2-possession lead over McKinney as we welcome in Cullen Brown, who's on the call for that game at the halftime break, and that's an 18-7 lead for Allen. And Cullen looks like that Allen defense really giving the Lions offense some headaches, and that's a McKinney team that is pretty accustomed to scoring a large amount of points, but the Allen defense looking tall in that first half. Apologize for that. Looks like just a couple of issues trying to get them up and running, of course. This is, there's a lot of hardware involved in getting a show like this going. Of course, we got talent all throughout the state. But at that time, right now, we got Allen with an 18-7 lead over McKinney.
Well, just looking at the stats, it's an 18-7 lead. This game looks very well contested. I'm looking first off at the total yardage. You have 154 yards for Allen to 130 yards for McKinney. It's been a clean game as well. There's only been one penalty flag thrown.
Oh, wow.
McKinney's been penalized for 10 yards. So this has been a close game. And just kind of looking between the numbers, McKinney employs that 2-quarterback system with God's Power Wanwehi and Jeremiah Dowd, who's a younger quarterback within their scheme. They've only passed for 92 yards, but the thing that really jumps out to me is that they've only rushed for under, it looks like 40 yards total in that game. So the Allen defense seems to be clicking on all cylinders. This is an ever important game here in a district matchup because they're playing for seeding, they're playing for a lot of stuff into the playoffs here, but on a deeper level, this is a personal game as well. Because of the ties on the McKinney coaching staff, I know that Marcus Shavers wants to pull off a win here, and this is an important game for Lee Wigington. Make no mistake about it. District play is when you really want to, batten down the hatches and really start to rack up wins. When they started 0-2, that started the chirping up, and Lee Wigington has that team now rolling in the right direction. It's going to be a tough ball game, 18-7 right now. But this was going to be far from over. It was a quick first half, but I think the second half is going to have a lot of fireworks. I think both of these teams are going to be coming out of the halftime break with a spirited mindset. Well,
and that McKinney offense, they averaged close to 37 points a game, so only being held to 7 points there in that first half. And I do believe it sounds like we have maybe not. We'll take a look at some of those scores at the 1A level, Division 1. So we take a look at a few of those right now. And a couple of close ones. We've got Aquilia and Coolidge. That one's pretty close. Everything else, not so much. Garden City and Borden County, that one's close. And how about Jonesboro putting up 54-0 over Santa Ana? Some of those scores, Division 1, 1A. So we'll be right back. Stay with us right here on Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight.
There's only one state in the nation with 13 Division I FBS programs, and there's only one podcast that talks about every single one of them. Introducing the Dave Campbell's Republic of Football podcast, the most complete coverage of the Lone Star State. Join host Ishmael Johnson, Carter Yates, and Mallory Hartley live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. for the biggest news and weekly previews on all Texas FBS programs. Can't catch every college football game on Saturdays? We've got you covered with recap episodes Sunday mornings with senior writer Mike Craven checking in. Subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple. Strap in with your host Ishmael Johnson, producer Mallory Hartley, senior writer Mike Craven, and college writer Carter Yates for a ride that'll last from now throughout the season.
Need your daily football fix? Look no further than Texas Football Today, the daily live show from the people that bring you Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Every weekday at noon, Greg Tepper and Ashley Pickle bring you the latest news, deep dive analysis, insightful interviews with big-name guests, and more. And if you ever miss an episode, you can subscribe to the Texas Football Today podcast to keep up with all the fun. Don't miss Texas Football Today every weekday at noon at texasfootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And subscribe to Texas Football Today wherever you get your podcasts. Nobody covers Texas high school football like Stepp and Stepp, the premium high school football podcast from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Dig deep into the sport in every corner of the state with high school football insider Matt Stepp and managing editor Greg Tepper, with game previews, unique insights, and bold predictions. Get Stepp and Stepp by becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber at texasfootball.com/subscribe.
We might not be good at many things, but there is one thing that we crushed, and that's naming a stinking podcast. WTF. Yes, it's exactly what you're thinking. Women talking football. Oh, you thought it meant something else? You might be right. Tune in every Thursday at 2 p.m. as me, Ashley Pickle, and everyone's favorite Mal pal, Mallory Hartley, bring you in-depth analysis of every region of the Lone Star State, talk ball with reporters across Texas, get the real scoop from coaches' wives, and all the other nonsense that comes along with the two of us being allowed to talk into a microphone. Join the party Thursdays at 2 o'clock on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football YouTube page.
All right, welcome back to Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight. We got some more score updates this time from the 2A level, Division II. So Albany, the number 1 ranked team, 35-0 over Cross Plains. Chilton, 48-0 over Bartlett. Sunray, close game so far against Boys Ranch. They're up 7-0. And then on that other side of the screen, some blowouts for a couple of those games there at 2A Division II. There's some updates there. We got some more highlights meanwhile, and of course a little bit ago we're talking about Aledo and the Bearcats. So they've gotten off to a very strong start, taking on Burleson Centennial. And as most nights go for the Aledo Bearcats, it's the Haas Haney show as he keeps it around the right side, makes it 14-0 early on for Aledo. As this time they'll go to their special teams after that Haas Haney score. They do a squib kick up the middle. It's going to be fumbled around the 30-yard line. And ball is all on the turf. Aledo is able to recover it, so they go up 14-0. Special teams forces a turnover, turns it right back over to their offense, gets an opportunity, and it's Haas Haney again finding Rayson Gallery deep for the touchdown. 21-0 in the blink of an eye for Aledo in that opening quarter. And then going into the second frame, it's Haney again. This time he'll connect with Hawk Patrick Daniels for the touchdown. It's all Aledo right now, 35-0 over Burleson Centennial.
Yeah, and a little bit of update here. We got Marshall versus Nederland. You see Marshall had the ball at the 1, cashed it in to go up 7-0. Nederland's Aiden Sunday here gets the snap and dumps off a short pass to KJ Trezino, who turns it upfield in a hurry and scampers for a 61-yard touchdown. The extra point would be no good, 7-6, Fort Bend Marshall. Marshall's backed up here in their own end zone on the 3, and Caleb Wright is able to deliver a sideline pass to a 4-star wide receiver, a great option to have. Jacaden Ferguson leaving the defense in the dust, a 97-yard touchdown, and then you're going to see Marshall add some more points on the board here as Wright gets the ball at the 30 and heaves it to a wide open Ryan Johnson in the end zone there. 21-6 at the half.
Wow, that's a couple of nice plays, and yeah, it's always nice to have a 4-star wide receiver just to be able to throw it to and make a play.
Marshall's loaded with 4-star wide. Andre Feast is another guy in that offense. Marshall's a team loaded with prospects.
Take a look again at some of those games there in the quad box. We got some exciting ones, Hitchcock and Columbus. That one's been a lot of fun so far. China Spring and La Vega. And then, of course, we have Anahuac. Looks like they have a 1-point lead over East Chambers in that game. But taking a look at one of our other spotlight games, we have Tomball versus Tomball Memorial. We got Sean Bajani on the call as that game is at halftime as we welcome him in now. Again, Sean Bajani on the call. And it looks like it's a pretty close game at the halftime break as we'll bring him in here now. It's a 14-13 lead for Tomball. Sean, again, thank you so much for joining us and just kind of take us through that opening half.
Well, each team has had 4 offensive possessions, and both have been very, very aggressive. For the Tomball Memorial Wildcats, Aiden Martin has made everything happen with that offense with his feet. He had the quarterback keeper to get him on the board to start this game. He led him down the field, which they couldn't finish as they got close to the red zone. They had to settle for a 24-yard field goal, a 29-yard field goal. To me, guys, the most impressive thing and performer in tonight's ball game has come from Carter Noyce, the Tomball Cougars quarterback. He's been almost magical. He's made some terrific throws in this ball game this evening. 2 of them really coming to Kobe Dawson, who's listed as their tight end, but is lined up as their wideout several times this evening. He came up with 2 of the biggest plays in this game. Kobe Fosher's got 2 touchdowns, but it's been Kobe Dawson. One of the passes from Noyce to Dawson was actually on purpose. The second one, and the biggest one, which gave them the 14-13 lead, was not. It was actually intended for a different receiver who was running a little snag route from the slot. Went through his hands. Dawson came up with it, turned it upfield for about a 30-yard gain, and set up Kobe Fosher for the 1-yard score. So a little bit of luck, but it's never a bad thing. It's been a really good game in this rivalry game.
It was a well-contested game last year as well, and I know that the city probably turned up for this crosstown rivalry. What's the atmosphere like in the stadium tonight?
Holy smokes. I feel like I'm at a U of H game or something. They got a halftime light show going on right now. I don't know that there's a seat available on either side. I'm on the Tomball, I'm on the Wildcats side, and I'm looking across at the Cougars side, and it's stacked. Everybody's wearing red. There's lights going on. They get the halftime light show going. I mean, there's fireworks. I feel like I'm at a college game. I mean, there's some institutions at the D1 level that aren't this good. I'm impressed.
Doing some prep for this game, I reeled it back and watched some of the earlier contests that these guys have played this year, and a guy who jumped out to me is Ramon Pernis for the Tomball Cougars, a big defensive lineman. He's got offers from schools like Arkansas State and UNT. Is that the type of guy that they need to turn to continue to limit Tomball Memorial and keep those touchdowns off the board? As you mentioned, they've had to kick 2 field goals so far.
Yeah, I think so, and he's factored into the game tonight as well. Has at least 1 sack. He might have gotten credit for another half of one, but I'm not sure, how high school stats can be. But he's been very busy, on that front. He's made some things happen, flushed the quarterback from the pocket. It's just about finishing. And that's so difficult, at times to do with an offense that has so much pre-snap motion going on, giving you a different look, making you change a front. I'd say for the most part, though, I mean, that is something to keep an eye on. I've been really impressed with the defensive fronts for both of these sides, but particularly that one. It's been a pretty clean game. Both of these offenses, I heard coming in, like to kind of get up and go a little bit. And, for the Wildcats, told, hey, they're going to run no huddle, maybe a little sugar huddle. It's the Cougars that have slowed it down a little bit. It's been the opposite in this game. I mean, the Cougars have just boom, 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 gone. And it might behoove, the Wildcats and the Cougars to really change things up in terms of tempo.
Yeah, looking at the Wildcats' record this year, they've had a 62-point game, a 79-point game. So they're an offense that's usually putting up a whole lot of points. But as they get into the meat of this district schedule, you can see that it's going to be ever important that the defensive unit steps up and keeps their team in games. It looks like it's a tight game. Do you have any indication of who might hold an edge coming out of the halftime break?
Looks like
Well, it's tough. I have to say that I've been most impressed with the Cougars on both sides of the ball. I think they've shown aggressiveness. They've gone for 2 fake punts tonight. They did it one on their first offensive series deep in their own territory, and it worked. It went for like 24 yards to continue to drive. They went for it again on their third offensive possession, deeper into Wildcat territory, maybe like around the 50-yard line. It was not successful. I like the aggressiveness. I like the discipline that I've seen from the Cougars. But I think when it's head-to-head, at least one I've seen in this first half, I like the edge for the quarterback too. Carter Noyce is nice. As much as Aiden Martin has made things happen with his feet, he just hadn't been able to connect with his receivers so far. The Cougars defensively have done a really fantastic job pressuring him out of the pocket, making him throw it when he doesn't want to, and contesting balls in the air. So if the Cougars can keep up this level of play for this second half, I really like them. And I think one of the coaches gave me a little nugget. I don't think the Tomball Cougars have lost a game against the Wildcats in this stadium. Maybe it's a home field advantage. You can certainly see it. You can feel it. Maybe that's it, but certainly their style of play is complementary to the environment that they're playing in. So we'll see. It should be a very fun second half.
Thanks for your time, man, and enjoy the second half.
Wow, we saw the fireworks there just for a second. That's a pretty impressive
pretty
halftime
cool, right?
show.
8-point win for Tomball last year, and it's a 1-point lead right now. That's got to be a fun game to attend, especially if you're in that city. But it's cool to see that both fan bases turned out for it.
Yeah, it's cool talking about. Feels like a U of H game, of course. That was a wild finish for the Cougars last night over West Virginia. But yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. And again, I've been talking about it all night. Huge standing implications in that one. The Cougars at 5-1, 3-0 in district play. Wildcats 2-1 in district play and 5-1 overall. So it should be a very exciting second half of that game. It's a lot of fun as we take a look at some other games right now. Columbus and Hitchcock. This has been a fun one so far. Of course, both these teams 7-0 on the season. It's going to be a lot of fun. Columbus with the slight advantage there in the second quarter.
Yeah, and I got some updates coming in from the sidelines of that game. Damian McDaniel was actually carted off with his injury, so bad news for Hitchcock right there. And then later on in the second quarter, Kelshawn Johnson, their 4-star wide receiver in the class of 2025, needed to be carried off of the field. So Hitchcock is without a couple of its big-time playmakers, it seems like, right now.
And that is tough news. We'll go into the call as Gavin Moritz is at Bulldog Stadium at the moment.
As we tick down to 2:10 here to play, Hitchcock again taking their time, milking a little bit of the clock here, moving the ball down the field. Mark it here at the 12, 1st and 10 now for Lloyd Jones III and his offense. Jones dropped it, scoops it up, trying to run now. Fires far side, it is incomplete off the hands of Bryce Dorsey. Nearly disaster in the backfield for Lloyd Jones III. He looked to throw, dropped it behind himself, picked it up and threw it to Dorsey. A little bit high there, just trying to get rid of it. And thankfully for Hitchcock, it just kind of falls incomplete. Although Dorsey really didn't have anyone around him. So down to 1:52 here, the clock will stop. Again, Craig Smith has 2 timeouts left here on the Hitchcock sideline. From the 12 now, 2nd and 10. Jones, quarterback draw. Lloyd Jones III inside the 5. Trying to extend, and he's down to about the 3, maybe the 2. And again, another keeper on the quarterback draw for Lloyd Jones III. And I believe they marked him just shy of the line to gain. It'll be 3rd down here, less than a yard. And that is the case down to 1:25. The clock continues to run. Hitchcock a couple feet away from a 1st and goal. You're down late in this first half. Cardinal defense here looking for a stop inside the 5. 3rd and about a yard. Here from the 2. Keeper, Lloyd Jones III, trying to turn the corner, looking for a block. Jones into the end zone. Touchdown, Hitchcock. Another one for Lloyd Jones III. The Bulldogs retake the lead. 22-21.
That's a great quarterback run there by Jones as they get back on top. But we got, again, a lot of action as we'll bring in now James Tritley and Alex Weister on the call for Pottsboro Cardinals and Winsboro Raiders. That's been a good game. Winsboro up 42-21 at the half. Again, James and Alex, thanks so much for joining us. Just kind of give us that synopsis there of that first half. Very high scoring, it appears.
I think, the best way to say it is, are you not entertained? If you haven't seen this game already, there's just so much offense between these two teams. And we're seeing a lot more of it from Winsboro. Obviously, they're ahead on the scoreboard. But, man, we saw Major McBride was going to be the big story. His running numbers coming into this game. Alex had touched on it already that his numbers going into the season are just insane in what he's been able to do. But the touchdowns, you have it right. I think it's Kyler Finney
Kyler Finney has 4 touchdowns, not through the air, on the ground, which is something that we're extremely surprised at because the passing game has been great so far, but they've just been getting it done on the ground as well and finishing off those drives extremely well.
As a guy who I watched some tape on heading into this game, and I'm going to tell the truth, the way that he flicks the ball around and the fun that he has with the football in his hands, he reminded me a little bit of Johnny Football.
I see it completely. His mobility is fantastic along with his arm, and they're showing it here. The Pottsboro defense has just absolutely nothing for this offense right now. The schemes that they're running, the play calls are just so well put together.
It looked like it was a track meet. How are you guys keeping up with the calls? It looked like there was about 3 touchdowns in a span of about 5 minutes in that game.
Oh man, it's just back and forth. I would text Mallory and just be like, "Hey, Winsboro touchdown," and right after that, Winsboro touchdown, and then Pottsboro came out. It was back and forth. We knew this was going to be a shootout type of game. I said it to start the show that this is one of the best weeks of high school football, and especially in 3 Division I. I believe yesterday Ashley and Mallory touched on it as being a huge proprietor for 3 Division I for their Women Talking Football show. We have so many good matchups. The Columbus-Hitchcock one is good, but this one has just had so much offense, and there's still 24 minutes left to play for the second half.
It wouldn't be fair to say that Winsboro's not been in pretty much complete control. Every time I've looked up, it's been a 21-point lead. What does Pottsboro need to do to be able to claw back into this game? I got to imagine the answer starts with trying to slow down Kyler Finney.
Yeah, absolutely. It does start with trying to slow him down, but they just don't have an answer for that. The defenders, they're trying their best, and try as they might, they just really don't have an answer at all. But it also starts on offense, too, getting Major McBride going. They've been running the ball, but there's just some plays that they're not using as much as they need to that are working. And I think we just need to see a little bit more of that, getting him pretty much just behind center and letting him run with a blocker in front.
Buckle up, fellas. I think it's going to be a wild ride as you guys try to get to the finish line there. At least it's already halftime for those guys. Yeah. I'm thinking they're going to be there till about 10:30, 11 o'clock tonight.
Yeah, it looks like it with all that offense, a lot of stoppages in play. It's pretty impressive. But, yeah, James was talking about it, some huge matchups in the 3A field of play. And then, 42 points in the first half, pretty impressive. So, again, it's been a lot of fun so far. Week number 8 of Texas high school football, and we just keep rolling. We got some more highlights, I believe, coming up here in just a couple of minutes. But, yeah, it's been a pretty good Friday so far. So we take a look, Connolly and Belton. This is going to be Caden Wynn. This is going to be a 34-yard connection to Aiden Smart to put Connolly on the board, 7-0, an early start as they get on the board. And then it's going to be Owen Garcia a couple of drives later. It's going to be a 5-yard touchdown run getting to the outside edge. That's 13-0 Connolly in the opening quarter. Now going into the second, this is going to be an opportunity for Belton down by 13. And this is going to be Sean Snap, just a handoff right up the middle. The kind of Red Seas departing there goes right into the end zone, makes it 13-7 in the second quarter. Connolly getting the ball back up by 6, looking to expand their lead. Caden Wynn again, 43-yard connection, finding Landon Bradley. That's Bradley's 10th touchdown of the season, and Pflugerville Connolly up 20-7.
I'm going to go over to Marshall versus Nederland next, and we're going to have a very interesting ball game there as you're still looking at highlights rolling here between Jersey Village and Cy Creek. It looks like Jersey Village is in complete control of that game as well. 35-6, you're going to see them connect. Alan Tran throw a dime to Warren Wilkins. A 50-yard touchdown pass, 42-6 Jersey Village. But it isn't all doom and gloom for Cy Creek. As you're going to see, their quarterback, Stephen Cheney, throws a dot to Japhon Duncan, and Cy Creek goes the air 40 yards to make it 13-42.
Wow, pretty impressive as we take a look again at some of our scores. We got Columbus and Hitchcock. That one's a 3-point game in that second quarter. Allen and McKinney, that second half getting underway. And then Tomball versus Tomball Memorial, that second half just getting started as well. So again, some of our spotlight games, some very close games going now into the second half of a few of those.
Yeah, it looks like Columbus is either lining. It looks like they're lining up for a field goal attempt here. I think that says 24-21, so they can make it even with a good kick here. And it splits the uprights, and we have a tie game. We knew this was going to be a great game, right? What we didn't know is that Hitchcock was going to lose a couple of its top players, and now it's going to be the Lloyd Jones show, I think, on the offensive side of the ball for them. But one thing that really catches my eye looking at these games, isn't Texas high school football great?
Oh, yeah.
Those are some big dudes for 3A D1. Yeah. Those teams are stacked. Columbus and Hitchcock have some really big players on the sidelines, so a lot of fun out there in 3A Division I.
Yeah, and kind of reflecting in those standings and in their records, 7-0, Columbus and Hitchcock. Of course, this game, huge implications on whoever can come out with that win. Would be a huge head-to-head victory for either of those teams, and that one tied at 24 in that opening half. And yeah, I mean, 3A, those are some studs on the field in that contest.
Yeah, and it's a 5-team district, so every game is ever important, right? You know, they're just now starting to get in to district play. As you see, teams have only played one district game so far, so you know you're not going to have very many chances to win the crown, so you got to make every game count.
And we go back to Allen and McKinney as the Eagles with possession inside McKinney territory, but a strong stop by the Lions defense on that play, the handoff right up the middle. But Allen, the 18-7 lead over McKinney. And again, you look at that district, McKinney sitting atop with a 6-0 record, Prosper in second, 5-1. They had that big win over Denton Geyer at home earlier in the year, as Geyer in that number 4 spot with a 4-2 record. As we have a halftime update from Cullen Brown on the call. Again, we tried to get into them a little bit earlier, had some issues connecting, but I believe we have a halftime update from Cullen Brown.
So we are here at McKinney ISD Stadium at halftime. The Allen Eagles lead the number 13 ranked McKinney Lions 18-7 over a very dominant defensive performance in this first half for this Allen defense, which has overall given up 23 points per game. But again, as we mentioned on the broadcast, only given up 23 total points in their last 3 games combined. And Cullen today only 7 points at halftime over an explosive McKinney offense that averages 36 points per game. For Allen to only hold McKinney to 7 at halftime, it's a pretty good start.
It's a pretty good start. We were talking about it during the break right before we went on. They've been rushing a lot. They've been blitzing. They've been sending a lot of guys, and they've been handling the jet sweeps that McKinney likes to do as well. McKinney also runs kind of a dual quarterback system that they've been able to contain, and really just either whether they're deciding to run it up the middle or try to drop back the pass. Allen seems to have a game plan ready on the defensive side, and it's a huge reason why they're up 18-7.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you mentioned, with McKinney's offense, they like to hit you in a number of ways with God's power. Juan Weiwei like to run the ball. With the sophomore quarterback Jeremiah Dowd, they like to throw the ball more. But no matter what they've thrown at this Allen defense, they haven't been able to get much done. You know, it just seems like whenever they're in these passing situations with the sophomore Dowd, he doesn't have that much time to throw the ball.
None at all. None at all. And it's, you know, getting over to the Allen offensive side, they have been really able to execute a nice little balanced attack, really been able to establish the run, which is something that we talked about beforehand. May not have been easy versus McKinney, but so far it's been a key to their success. They've been able to work in the play action, and they've gotten a couple rushing scores here in this first half, and I would expect more of the same here in the second.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, there's a lot of storylines riding on in this game. Marcus Shavers, McKinney head coach and Allen alum, and again, this McKinney offense, this McKinney team has not been Allen since 1999 when Coach Savers was 11 years old. So just, you know, McKinney, they have an 11-point hole to dig out of in the second half, but down 18-7. But I think, like Greg said, talking about this game, a lot of fireworks to be expected in the second half. I think both coaching staffs, particularly on the offensive side for McKinney, will make the proper adjustments. I think it's going to be a high-scoring second half.
I agree. Yeah, no, this game is far from over. It is only 11-point deficit with Allen scoring late there in the first half. We'll look to see what kind of adjustments both head coaches make going into the second, but I would expect a very fiery, competitive McKinney. I mean, they're the 13th ranked 6A team in the state for a reason. They're not going to go down lightly.
Absolutely. So again, McKinney ISD Stadium, Allen leading the 13th ranked McKinney Lions 18-7 here at halftime.
All right, Ryan Fox and Cullen Brown, again, a shout out to them. We were trying to connect with them a little bit earlier, had some connection issues, a big shout out, and they were able to get that recorded and sent in to us to give us a bit of a better feel of what's been a really solid game so far, and the Allen Eagles defense kind of suffocating McKinney early on.
Yeah, they're doing a tremendous job of limiting that offensive talent down, right? You know, Christian McIntrust has only got one catch for -1 yards, so that speaks to the evolution of the Allen defense this year. They really struggled in week 2 versus C.E. King. And really a guy that started to step up is quarterback Brady Bricker. 10 of 12 for 85 yards, has also added 37 yards on the ground thus far. So the Eagles are really starting to roll. They actually have the ball right now in a position to add more points on the board. So we'll see if they can extend that lead. But this is the time where McKinney has to answer the call. And we saw them do that last year heading into the playoffs. They weren't a team heading into the playoffs that people were picking to go on a deep run, but when their backs were against the wall, that's when they made the best plays. That's when their team stepped up and they went 4 games deep into the 6A Division I Texas high school football playoffs. So they're led by guys like you see here. Xavier Filsamy, the #1 rated safety in the Lone Star State, just happens to wear #1 to match his ranking. Filsamy's a guy who, you know, plays at around 195 pounds, 6'1". He runs a 10.58 100 meter. And you're going to take a look at some of his highlights here. McKinney's a guy who really, I call it the zero angle. So that's the angle where the ball carrier and the defensive back, you draw a 50% line between them when the ball carrier gets the football. He approached the zero angle better than any player in the state of Texas. And he saves his defense yardage. And his experience as a wide receiver in the past makes him a good coverage guy as well. He can read the football. He knows how to go up and make plays on it. But the fact that he's turned his game into being such a run stuffer, a thumper, really speaks highly of the attitude that he plays with the motor that he plays with. He's a lot of fun to watch. I liken it to watching like an offensive player playing defense, like you watch a football game and you love to see somebody score a touchdown. Well, Xavier Filsamy hits are like touchdowns to me because he lights people up. He's a whole lot of fun to watch.
And on a couple of those plays you see, and you know, obviously you see a lot of college players do that, but for him to be able to turn the head around and locate that ball and not draw any pass interference, that's impressive at someone at his level at that age to really have that down. But yeah, you talk about able to really move up in run support. That's very nice to have a safety in that position.
Yeah, no doubt. I think his skill set fits the SEC well. He's committed to Florida, but University of Texas made an offer to him this week, trying to get him to flip, maybe to stay in state. So we'll have to see how that turns out. He's got family ties to Florida, so I'm not calling. I'm not calling for a flip here. I'm
putting it out there.
I'm just noting that Texas extended him an offer. He seems solid with Florida, but it's a little bit late in the game to be offering the #1 safety in the state. He's going to be signing in December. So sometimes in recruiting, where there's smoke, there's fire. So something that will definitely keep you tuned in at Dave Campbell's Texas Football.
That's why we love having this guy on. He knows everything in the world of recruiting. So that's been a fun one so far. Allen on top of McKinney in that big showdown game. Again, that's just one of many of a very stacked slate of spotlight games with big standing implications here in week number 8 of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight in the Texas high school football season. We'll take a quick break. On the other side, we got some more action coming out right here on Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight.
There's only one state in the nation with 13 Division I FBS programs, and there's only one podcast that talks about every single one of them. Introducing the Dave Campbell's Republic of Football podcast, the most complete coverage of the Lone Star State. Join host Ishmael Johnson, Carter Yates, and Mallory Hartley live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. for the biggest news and weekly previews on all Texas FBS programs. Can't catch every college football game on Saturdays? We've got you covered with recap episodes Sunday mornings with senior writer Mike Craven checking in. Subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple. Strap in with your host Ishmael Johnson, producer Mallory Hartley, senior writer Mike Craven, and college writer Carter Yates for a ride that'll last from now throughout the season.
Need your daily football fix? Look no further than Texas Football Today, the daily live show from the people that bring you Dave Campbell's Texas football. Every weekday at noon, Greg Tepper and Ashley Pickle bring you the latest news, deep dive analysis, insightful interviews with big-name guests, and more. And if you ever miss an episode, you can subscribe to the Texas Football Today podcast to keep up with all the fun. Don't miss Texas Football Today every weekday at noon at texasfootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and subscribe to Texas Football Today wherever you get your podcasts. Nobody covers Texas high school football like Stepp and Stepp, the premium high school football podcast from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Dig deep into the sport in every corner of the state with high school football insider Matt Stepp and managing editor Greg Tepper, with game previews, unique insights, and bold predictions. Get Stepp and Stepp by becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber at texasfootball.com/subscribe.
We might not be good at many things, but there is one thing that we crushed, and that's naming a stinking podcast. WTF. Yes, it's exactly what you're thinking. Women talking football. Oh, you thought it meant something else? You might be right. Tune in every Thursday at 2 p.m. as me, Ashley Pickle, and everyone's favorite Mal pal, Mallory Hartley, bring you in-depth analysis of every region of the Lone Star State, talk ball with reporters across Texas, get the real scoop from coaches' wives, and all the other nonsense that comes along with the two of us being allowed to talk into a microphone. Join the party Thursdays at 2 o'clock on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football YouTube page.
And welcome back to Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight as we take a look at some of the 2A D1 scores. We've got Timpson 42-0 over West Sabine. And a couple of close games. We've got a tie right now. Holland and Thorndale tied at 20. So a couple of close games, and then of course a couple of games that are a little more spread out at the moment. So it's been a lot of fun thus far. And of course, our spotlight games have been very entertaining to say the least. We have China Spring, Waco La Vega, one of those spotlight games. And that's been a fun one so far, as we have Drake Toll and Cameron Stewart on the call for that game, and they're joining us now. Guys, just kind of take us in. It looks like it's been a very exciting first half.
Yeah, guys, I think the first thing to mention here, Cash McCollum breaks the career record for touchdowns in China Spring history. Over legends like Sean Bell, Major Bowden, Brian Bell, he's now got 70 in just 23 games. 31-21, Cougs on top of La Vega. And Cam, I think the most shocking thing is the Cougars cannot run the football right now. La Vega's in a pretty good spot still.
Yeah, it's been not a great night on the ground for China Spring, and really they haven't moved the ball a lot in terms of these long drives. Everything has been outside of the red zone for those scoring drives, and it's been the complete opposite for La Vega. 5 of 7 on third down. They're running the heck out of it like they always do, and it's been easy third down conversions. So every stop that China Spring makes feels a little bit better because of the firepower they have on offense.
Yeah, and the Cougs pay rent at Jerry World because the guys like Kyle Barton, a name that a lot of Texans know, runs at a peak of 22 miles per hour, which is the same speed as one Jonathan Taylor. And tonight, he's been pretty much non-existent.
Yeah, I mean, his biggest contribution has been in the kickoff game. He had a big kickoff that was called back. And then in the passing game, has a 65-yard touchdown reception. The kid can do it all. He plays defense, too, sometimes when they need him. He can just do it anywhere on the football field, and they're going to need him to do it a few different ways tonight.
A little bit of a surprising score out there, guys, I think, too. I thought that maybe coming into this game, China Spring was a pretty heavy favorite, but Waco La Vega has been able to stand the test here and is in this game entering the third quarter. What do you feel like they need to do to overcome that 10-point deficit and potentially pull the upset here?
Well, honestly, I mean, it comes with stopping China Spring, which is much easier said than done because they've been moving the ball at will offensively. And for a quarterback who's only turned it over twice this whole year, it's a big ask. But if you can get a turnover, that's a humongous lift. I mean, we just had right before the half basically a goal line stand. China Spring gets the chip shot field goal for it. But 3 or 4 stops inside the 10 for the Pirates. That's a moral victory. Going into this long halftime, they start on defense. Could see something like a surprise onside kick, but they've got some momentum going into this only down 10.
Yeah, I think if you just keep doing what you're doing to an extent, run the football. LaVegas had a lot of success on the ground. Both the Thornton guys, Bryce and Roland, really, we've seen, the Keeper Sibley of the world, one of the best in Central Texas. And these guys are as good as all of them. If LaVegas able to ground and pound, Don Hyde is one of the best to do it. Key number 1, get a stop on this first possession for China Spring. Run the ball the way you're running the football. And LaVegas in a really good spot, especially if, as Cam brought up, they get a turnover.
Cash McCollum is a quarterback who's impressed me because he continues to get better each and every snap. He's a guy who's grown up kind of right before our eyes, of course, leading China Spring to a state championship victory last year in AT&T Stadium. Is he continuing to make those forward strides throughout the course of his senior season? Does he look good?
Yeah, 32. He's sitting at 33 touchdown passes this season. He broke the school record last year with 37 in 16 games. So not only does he look sharp, he looks confident, much more confident than last season. I don't know if we saw him at his peak confidence level until the second half at Jerry World. He's wearing that money back brace, that back plate last year. And Cash has just put on a show as a leader for this team, a team that needed a senior leader. They weren't sure if Cash could be that guy. It was Graydon Grimes, the Baylor commit. But it's McCollum all the way to me.
Yeah, and his deep ball has just been beautiful this year. I was talking about this in our halftime report. Just a step better than last year. And one thing that's impressed me, he's such a smart quarterback, too. He truly is. He's had 2 plays tonight that don't have much on the score sheet, but I highlighted because he knows where that pressure is coming from. He knows how quickly it's going to get there, and he's not afraid to wait that extra millisecond to take a hit and make a play. And he's done that really wisely twice tonight. So he's a smart quarterback. That's how you get to a 34-2 touchdown interception ratio, too.
Yeah, guys, we're biased, but this is a kid that he's sitting on an offer from maybe Baylor, maybe A&M. He's waiting it out. His brother's at Texas A&M. He's going to beat North Texas. He's going to play a non-conference game against one of these Power 5 Texas teams. And maybe they don't win, but he's going to prove why people should have been a little more serious about Cash McCollum.
You heard it from the guys right there, some of the best in the game right there, knowing a lot about Cash McCollum and China Spring. That was an awesome report. 2 of the best coaches in Tyler Beatty and Don Hyde at Waco La Vega matching up tonight. Is a very interesting game. Cash McCollum's a guy who I'm really high on because he has made steady improvement year over year. What I think is really cool about his game, whenever his team needs a big play, he's the type of guy who can turn it in, the type of guy that you can depend on. He's also a player who limits his bad plays or negative plays. He doesn't make a lot of those throughout the course of a game. He's not, an elite runner with the football in his hands, but he's athletic enough that he can keep defenses honest. He can run the ball well enough that you can't really pin him down and keep him in the box. He works well outside of the box. And he knows how to utilize his weapons and find them the football. He's a heady player. He's a heady quarterback, and that's why he's made his commitment to North Texas and why they offered him his scholarship. Of course, other schools still continue to show interest in him, but he's a UNT commit for now. And if you're right here in Denton, Texas, you got to be happy that you're getting a state championship winning quarterback potentially on your roster to start next season.
That gets me pretty excited. I know it gets all the students here that help out behind the scenes on the show. They're very excited. Again, a shout out to all the students here that
could hear the calls out.
Yeah, exactly.
Could hear the calls back there.
They get everything working behind the scenes. A big shout out to them. But yeah, it's been very exciting to see him grow. And of course, China Spring, Waco La Vega, that's been a good game so far. Just one of our spotlight games that have been very entertaining throughout the night as we take a look at a couple of the other games live in action. Winsboro and Pottsboro, again, that's kind of been all Winsboro tonight. The only one that's kind of seemed out of reach throughout the night in terms of our spotlight games, Allen building now a 3-possession lead as they're up 24-7 over McKinney going into the fourth quarter. So maybe a little bit surprising going to that one. We'll talk about that in just a little bit, because now we are joined by Gavin Moritz, who is, I don't know, I think he's kind of becoming the people's announcer we saw a few weeks ago. He had some fans behind him when he was joining us, and it sounded like he had a couple of fans behind him as well. But he's been on the call for Columbus and Hitchcock. Gavin, again, thanks so much for joining us, and just kind of take us through what that first half has been like.
Guys, thanks for having me on. So far tonight, you got number 2 Columbus, number 4 Hitchcock, the top, 2 of the top 4 teams here in 3AD1. It's been back and forth since the jump. They've been trading blows possession after possession. The thing, though, with Hitchcock, they don't have much of a kicking game right now. Their kicker's hurt, and so, since earlier in the season, so they've been going for 2 every time, and it's worked for them. They've gone for 2, 3 times. It's worked every time. They got 24. Columbus, in turn, has scored 3 touchdowns. And Columbus had a shot towards the end of the half to take the lead. Their drive stalled out at the 14-yard line. They kick a field goal, and we're tied at the half.
I'm going to try not to kill like all of the time up for the rest of the show, Gavin, but I feel like I could talk about this game all night. I know that Damian McDaniel was carted off the field. I heard from the sidelines that Kelshawn Johnson has made a return, but he's seriously hobbled. What does Hitchcock need to do to stay in this game in absence of probably its 2 biggest playmakers, really on both sides of the football?
Yeah, I mean, you watch their 2 biggest playmakers, Greg, like you said, kind of go down with injury, both in that first half. I think they now need to lean on Lloyd Jones III, the junior quarterback. He's the leader of the offense. They got Bryce Dorsey out there, too. Allen has been a big factor for them as well. I think they should need to lean on the remaining playmakers and let Lloyd Jones III cook, simply put.
Of course, Adam Schobel, he's the number 2 rated quarterback in the class of 2025 in the Lone Star State. He's already made his verbal commitment to Baylor. Obviously, he's doing a good job commanding that offense. What have you seen out of Schobel, and why should Baylor Bears fans be excited that he's going to be joining their roster in the future?
You look at Adam Schobel, guys, I think he's listed at 6'3", 6'4". He stands, we're watching him, me and Brady were physically, pregame, he stands above everyone else, kind of towers over a lot of the guys out there. And he just stands in there, at a 6'4" frame, stands in there, zips it in, and I mean, he's as physically and, athletically impressive as he's touted to be, and I think he commands the offense very well, and I think he lives up to the hype, no doubt.
Yeah, I was really just trying to fish it out of you to say, hey, did I do right by ranking him number 2, right? Gavin, I was trying to really get some justification on the rankings there. But we'll skip it. I want to ask you, who holds the advantage? I mean, this is such a close game. We knew it was going to be one of the best games in the state. It's really turned out that way. Have you got any indication of a favorite heading into the second half? Will those injuries be what ultimately does Hitchcock in, or can Lloyd Jones potentially lead them to victory? Or is it just too close to call?
Guys, we said going into this one it was going to be a heavyweight fight. I think this one's going to come down to decision. I don't think there's going to be a knockout punch. I think we're going to have a TKO of any kind. I think it's going to come down to decision. Whoever has the ball last, I think, is going to win the game. It's been that kind of game so far in the first half, 24-24 at the break.
Gavin Moritz, one of the best in the business, and that's why he's calling the best game in the state this weekend, Nick. Thanks, Gavin, and we look forward to hearing from you next week.
Thank you guys for having us.
On, of course, whenever we get to chat with them, he's got a little bit of action going on behind him.
It looked like he was out at the concession stand kind of with it in the background tonight. It was real fun.
Looked like it was a little bit better than a few weeks ago where he had to scale the press box to get up and down to chat with us.
Well, when you're doing the 3A games, the press box probably isn't quite the same.
Yeah.
It looked like he was in a sweat box out there as well. And, it's been a great game. So, I mean, he's probably been totally into it. I know I'd be pumped up to have a chance to call that game. What a great game.
Yeah, I mean, that matchup has been a lot of fun. We talked about it. I know they were talking about Ashley and Mallory on Women Talking Football. That was going to be a huge matchup. It's lived up to the billing so far as we take a look at some of our other scores. We're back to the quad box as Tomball Memorial with a 20-14 lead now in that contest. And we've got Allen and McKinney, of course, the Eagles building a 3-possession lead in that game. And we were talking about that right before we went over to Gavin, but maybe surprising a couple of people, Allen really stifling that Lions offense.
Yeah, it shouldn't. It really shouldn't. I mean, I think that a lot of people want to be down on Allen because, they're the biggest school in the entire state of Texas.
Here we go.
A fake punt. What a call. That's Xavier Filsamy. What a call by the McKinney coaching staff. Of course, head man Marcus Shavers there in McKinney. comes up with a call. And we talked about it. When their back's against the wall, that's when McKinney dials something up, and they went into their bag of tricks to pull out a fake punt. 24-7, it's already the fourth quarter. This game seems like it's gone by in a flash. But shout out, no matter how this game turns out, shout out to the Allen coaching staff who has done a tremendous job with that team this season.
Yeah, you talked about they had a lot of growing pains at the beginning of the year, but just week in and week out, they've gotten stronger and stronger. Now we turn our attention to some of these scores, 3A Division II. Anything kind of surprising? There's a really close game, a tie, 14-14. They're the number 6 team in 3A Division II in a tight game right now.
I mean, just looking at the scores, number 1 is Gunner, and I don't see how anyone can slow. They have one of the most unique offenses, not only in the state of Texas, but the entire country. So they're hard to slow down. They really are able to keep defenses on their toes. They put up a lot of points week in and week out, and I would be absolutely shocked if I don't see them in AT&T Stadium competing for a state championship this year.
Seems like every time we tune in and we have their graphic up on the board, it's always in the 50-point range. So, that offense doing some pretty impressive things this year as we go back to this game. It's been a lot of fun. It was a 1-point game at the half, and now Tomball Memorial up by 6 in the fourth quarter.
Let's call this the light show game.
Yes. As, again, we'll go to that game right now. That's Sean Bijani on the call at Tomball ISD Stadium.
Yard line. So this drive kept alive by Gunnar Besnell, the personal protector, getting the first down on a direct snap when the Wildcats faced a 4th and 4 at around midfield. Keeping the drive alive, Aiden Martin doing his best to extend the drive. One thing this Wildcats offense certainly is doing is chewing time off of the clock and clinging to a 6-point lead, but very close to getting more points on the board. All right, so we're going to get a timeout charged to Tomball Memorial. They want to make sure they get the right play in. Couldn't figure it out after the injury timeout, but they take a timeout. We'll take it with them. The timeout brought to you by the City of Katy. Small town charm, big city convenience. Visit cityofkaty.com to learn more and schedule your visit today.
So again, a very close game right now. It's a big matchup. Yeah, and the light show game, right?
Yeah,
right.
the light show game. That's what it's going to be.
We heard from Sean was talking about it felt like a college football game atmosphere. So it's been a lot of fun. But now we'll take a closer look, a conversation with Tomball coach Dave Handal.
2 years removed from a state semifinal berth in 6A Division II, Tomball this year is 5-1, riding a 4-game winning streak heading into the 2023 Patriotic game this Friday against Tomball Memorial.
Hailing from the DFW Metroplex, Coach Dave Handal's journey to Houston started with a stint at Galena Park.
So Vince Sebo was the AD at the time at Galena Park, and so got an opportunity to meet Vince and some of the people at Galena Park, and to be honest with you, it just felt like home. It felt like a good opportunity for me and my family, and so we went ahead and made the track 4 hours down here, and here we are.
Coach Handal's final season as defensive coordinator of the Cougars culminated in a trip to Waco for the state semifinals.
Right, so that year, like you said, it was a magical year. We went into week 10 against Klein, and it was a must-win to even make the playoffs, to go ahead and secure that 4th seed. And it was 14-14 at halftime. We were walking in and, came out in the second half, really played well, and things just started clicking for us. And we just seemed to get better each and every week in the playoffs, starting with that round 1 win, big win against Cy Park. And, I really, it's hard to put into words the memories from that, just this being able to go through that with my son Keegan and the kids here at Tomball. It was really an unbelievable ride.
Coaching under District Athletic Director Kevin Flanagan for several years, Dave Handal says he learned a lot from Coach Flan, on and off the field.
So had a great opportunity 7 years ago to come to Tomball and work with Coach Flan when he got the job, and learned a lot from him, not only about just being a better coach, a better person, how to lead a program, how to install a positive culture in our program that we still live, and really teach, and that's the foundation of really our success today.
With Tomball West High School set to open in a few years, Coach Handal sees positive change on the horizon.
So it's going to be a positive thing, with the growth in Tomball. It's going to be really special to have three high schools competing at the highest level. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like with rezoning and that, but I'm excited. The community's excited. The facility over there itself is going to be really nice. So it's nothing but positive for Tomball ISD.
Tomball, who beat Memorial in last year's rivalry game installment, isn't overlooking Coach Sam Parker and the Wildcats this season.
So Coach Parker does a great job, great offensive mind, and anytime we play those guys, we know it's going to be a battle and a challenge, especially for our defense. The best defense, in my opinion, is keeping their offense off the field. So we're going to try to control the clock, control the time of possession, move the chains with our running game, which will open up some things in the passing game for us. So anytime we can keep them on the sideline, that's a good win for the Tomball Cougars for sure.
Ahead of the 2023 Patriotic Game, Coach Handal holds high respect for our veterans, who are a huge part of the game and its surrounding festivities.
So my favorite part is just giving back and recognizing the veterans. We'll have 300 plus veterans at our game, and we honor them at a big dinner pre-game, and just to be able to have them a part of such a big game, within itself, but just to have them there and just to show our appreciation for what they've done and what they did is a big part of it. And then obviously it's a big part of our community. It's what we do each and every year, and Coach Parker's a good buddy of mine, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's always going to come down to a couple plays here and there, and whatever team makes those plays will probably have the best chance to be successful.
There's only one state in the nation with 13 Division I FBS programs, and there's only one podcast that talks about every single one of them. Introducing the Dave Campbell's Republic of Football podcast, the most complete coverage of the Lone Star State. Join host Ishmael Johnson, Carter Yates, and Mallory Hartley live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. for the biggest news and weekly previews on all Texas FBS programs. Can't catch every college football game on Saturdays? We've got you covered with recap episodes Sunday mornings with senior writer Mike Craven checking in. Subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple. Strap in with your host Ishmael Johnson, producer Mallory Hartley, senior writer Mike Craven, and college writer Carter Yates for a ride that'll last from now throughout the season.
Need your daily football fix? Look no further than Texas Football Today, the daily live show from the people that bring you Dave Campbell's Texas football. Every weekday at noon, Greg Tepper and Ashley Pickle bring you the latest news, deep dive analysis, insightful interviews with big-name guests, and more. And if you ever miss an episode, you can subscribe to the Texas Football Today podcast to keep up with all the fun. Don't miss Texas Football Today every weekday at noon at texasfootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and subscribe to Texas Football Today wherever you get your podcasts. Nobody covers Texas high school football like Stepp and Stepp, the premium high school football podcast from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Dig deep into the sport in every corner of the state with high school football insider Matt Stepp and managing editor Greg Tepper, with game previews, unique insights, and bold predictions. Get Stepp and Stepp by becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber at texasfootball.com/subscribe.
We might not be good at many things, but there is one thing that we crushed, and that's naming a stinking podcast. WTF. Yes, it's exactly what you're thinking. Women talking football. Oh, you thought it meant something else? You might be right. Tune in every Thursday at 2 p.m. as me, Ashley Pickle, and everyone's favorite Mal pal, Mallory Hartley, bring you in-depth analysis of every region of the Lone Star State, talk ball with reporters across Texas, get the real scoop from coaches' wives, and all the other nonsense that comes along with the two of us being allowed to talk into a microphone. Join the party Thursdays at 2 o'clock on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football YouTube page.
All right, welcome back to Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight, and we want to point this out real quick. That score for the Carthage-Rusk game should be flipped. Carthage has the lead on that one. Let's go to 3A Division I. How about that? There we go. Taking a look at some of those scores. Go ahead. We have that Columbus and Hitchcock game living up to all the hype we were talking about before kickoff. That one tied at 24 apiece. Anything else standing out? So we take a look at some of those games. Well,
Pottsboro has cut the lead to 14 points, and they haven't allowed a point yet in the second half, so that's going to be an interesting game because we've saw in the first half that they can score in a hurry, and number 1, Franklin, is rolling. They got a couple of studs who I really like in Jaden Jackson, the running back, and Devin Hidrogo, wide receiver cornerback that they have that plays on both sides of the ball. And here you go.
There we go, yeah.
You don't have to alarm Carthage fans anymore. I know that my good friend Gabe Brooks would have had a potential heart attack if Rusk was up 35-7 on Carthage, but good to see that score corrected there.
Oh, how about Belleville, 70 points.
Wow.
70-0. Man, that's impressive. So again, some of those 3A scores, and now up to 4A Division II. A couple of lopsided scores as always, but again, it's been a lot of fun all throughout week number 8. We got some more highlights rolling in now as we have Maynard New Tech taking on Wimberley, as we'll take a look there into the first quarter. This is going to be a fumble deep into Maynard New Tech territory. Wimberley forces the fumble. They were up 7-0. The defense with a big play able to recover. And staying in that first quarter, this is Chase Carson taking the handoff on the inside, weaving through traffic, breaking tackles, breaking ankles, lost the ball, caught it right back. A little bit of everything on that touchdown run to make it 20-0 Wimberley. I think I just wanted to add a little bit of different elements on that one run. Sticking in that first quarter, this is going to be a screen over to the outside, 23 yards to the house, 27-0 Wimberley. At this point, they're up 34-0 over Maynard New Tech, bringing the pressure, interception, as that's Lucas Brookshire showing off, able to get some air. The interception taking it all the way inside the 3-yard line.
Again,
They're up 41-0.
We're going to go back to Burleson Centennial versus Aledo, and it's been all Aledo here, as you're going to see them forcing a fumble deep into Centennial territory, and they're going to cash in with backup quarterback Gavin Beard with some more points off of that turnover, finding 4-star sophomore wide receiver Caden Finley. And then you're going to see another one, Brody Adams stuffed the run. If Wimberley pulls off the win tonight, that's going to be the 100th win for their head coach there. So that's a big victory for Wimberley if they can.
Yeah, they're doing it in impressive fashion, up 41-0 at that moment. Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Is it fair to say we can probably put that one in the win column for win number 100 for Coach Warren?
I'd say so. If you're up 41-0 into the second half, I think it might be safe to say. Well, it's been a lot of fun here. Week number 8, some great games, of course, throughout our spotlight games, and even some of the other games. We've seen some highlights. We've seen some phenomenal plays, especially some really good defensive plays, some great interceptions, some tackles for losses. We're back into
to the
quad
box,
and we've got 4 games up. We don't need to see. They've seen our faces all night. Let's get all the action on the field. This has been so much fun. China Spring up by 10 over Waco La Vega. And how about this defensive struggle between Anahuac and East Chambers? Still 8-7 into that third quarter.
Yeah, a 1-point lead right now for Anahuac in that game. I love a good defensive battle. We get to see offensive fireworks almost every week, but it's so rare that we get to see a game that's an 8-7 game and a game that means so much, right? Like, this is a game that means so much to both of these teams. And Waco La Vega still hanging around, only down by 10 in that game. They're trying to limit China Spring here out of the break. This is going to be like we heard our guys saying, and one of the key points for this game is could they slow China Spring down on that first possession? And here they go with the chance to try to do it here. It looks like it's third down right here as Cash McCollum drops back, rolls out to he's going to go for it all right here.
Oh.
And a good pass, well defended there by the Waco La Vega defense. And here we are back to the Columbus-Hitchcock game, all tied up at 24. And Columbus has the ball with Adam Schobel.
Yeah, I mean, that's been a really fun game. Uh-oh, almost intercepted right there as Hitchcock almost the big turnover right around midfield. Yeah, that one has been a lot of fun. And, of course, hey, we got Gavin Moritz on the call, so we might as well use him. Let's take it to Gavin, who's there at Bulldog Stadium.
Again, there was a Hitchcock defensive back right there underneath Braylon Fisher, the freshman, waiting to pick that one off as it was thrown a little high from Schobel. It kind of got bad in the air for a second. If you're a Columbus Cardinal fan, you're thankful for it now to be 4th and 7 instead of an interception. So 9:01 to play in the quarter. Columbus now punts it away from back inside their own 25 or so. Sails out of bounds. We'll see where they mark it. Marked out the 46. And with 8:51 to play in the third quarter, Hitchcock will start here with great starting field position from their own 46-yard line. 4 yards shy of the midfield stripe.
Last call for the winning ticket number.
Again, that brings back out here Lloyd Jones III in the Bulldog offense. 3 touchdowns on the night, 3 for 3 on 2-point conversions. Currently without their top 2 receiving targets. Trying to overcome a little adversity here in week 8 is Hitchcock at home. 1st and 10 Bulldogs from their own 46, 8:51 to go in this third quarter. You're in a tie game at 24 apiece. Here's Lloyd Jones III. Dumping it off, it's caught. Making a man miss across midfield. Good run after the catch, all the way down to the 41. With a Hitchcock first down into Cardinal territory goes Terrence Allen, the senior. Starting from their own 46, all the way down to the Columbus 41 on the first play of the new drive. Lloyd Jones III, Terrence Allen, first down Hitchcock. 8:35 to play in the quarter now. Clock is running. 1st and 10 from the 41. Near side, it's caught. And out of bounds at the 36. On the reception, there's Kelshawn Johnson back in on the action for this Hitchcock offense.
Again, that is a lot of fun, tied, going into the red zone territory. But again, going back to one of our other spotlight games, East Chambers, Anahuac, this one's been a lot of fun, and it looks like the Panthers of Anahuac are threatening in the third quarter.
Well, it's good to see Kelshawn Johnson first. Oh no. Here we got a big touchdown play right here, potentially. What a tackle. Potentially, you never know. Potentially a game-saving tackle right there at the 2-yard line as the Anahuac defender was able to pull down the East Chambers running back, and we're going to take it live to the audio right now.
And now 1st down and goal from the 2. Last time it was 1st down and goal from the 2. Hayden Reeves could have walked into the end zone. Bucks will hurry to the line of scrimmage. 2 backs behind him. Reeves is going to be met behind the line of scrimmage and dropped. They're going to give him forward progress to the 2, and that'll bring up 2nd down and goal.
A much better job of containing there by the Anahuac front defense. Stuck to their lane assignments, jumped in the hole and denying Reeves, but the ball is placed at the 1.
So he did get a yard on the carry. We'll bring up 2nd down and goal from the 1. Bucks looking to strike first in the second half like they did in the first. Pistol formation this time. Well, offset pistol. Reeves, handoff into the end zone, touchdown from a yard out.
Well, excellent job by East Chambers taking advantage of the great field position, putting together a good string of plays and into the...
All right, going back, Allen and McKinney in the 4th quarter. Eagles, another score as they widen their lead, and it looks like they are going to get a big win over the McKinney Lions with a touchdown late in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, that was a powerful touchdown run there, and they're doing it running back by committee at Allen right now. They're using basically a quartet of runners in that offense. They've got a lot of talent on that team, obviously, but credit to the offensive line. This is an offensive line, we kind of talked about it off the top of the show, that's revamped.
Yeah.
They lost a lot of talented players like Kason Carpenter off of last year's squad, who's now playing his college football at the University of Tulsa. And they had to come into this season with a new look up front, and those guys have grown game over game.
Yeah, it's really cool to see how much they've improved game in and game out, but it looks like Allen's going to move to 5-2. 4-0 in district play. Looks like McKinney's going to take their first loss. And then the only other undefeated team in that district would be Prosper.
Yeah, in convincing fashion for Allen, too. I think that's what's going to surprise everyone the most is how they're winning that football game. And if you want to talk about,
the road too.
Yeah, if you want to talk about a team that has good trench players, Prosper's offensive line, all 5 offensive linemen have D1 offers.
Wow.
So that's going to be a great game when Prosper faces Allen.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, that Prosper team, they're arriving now, and they've had a couple of statement wins. That's going to be a really fun one. But again, we're looking Tomball Memorial. They have a pretty nice lead over Tomball now as they're looking to hand the Cougars their first district loss, as that is in the 4th quarter. But Tomball threatening at the moment.
See a little bit of a light show out there in Hutto. It looks like maybe we got Will Hammond touchdown points there. Of course, the 4-star Texas Tech commit at Hutto setting off potential light show for the Hippos, who has one of my favorite nicknames in the one-star state, by the way. I mean, we could have a whole show talking about some of the great nicknames in Texas high school football, but the Hippos have to be up towards the top of the list.
That's something you don't hear very often. I like that, the Hippos. That is pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool. You see some of these big, some of these facilities, Texas high school football, you get the light shows. We saw the fireworks show earlier at halftime in this game, and now we got some fireworks on the field as Tomball gets a big score in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, and it looked like that was the quarterback Carter Noyes dialing up a touchdown pass right there. And it was Joey Brown who was able to haul that pass in, the tight end H back there for Tomball. It's just right that a crosstown rivalry, the light show game, is a one-score game in the 4th quarter, and now it's going to be the Tomball's defense's turn to try to get them the ball back with a chance to win. Assuming that they convert this, it's going to be a 6-point ball game, and they do. So a touchdown could win it for the Cougars if they can get the ball back. But, of course, Tomball Memorial is wanting to keep the ball away from them and out of Carter's hands.
And, again, we were talking about it before the show started, but, yeah, really hoping that a couple of these games, like we've seen throughout the season so far, a couple of these going right down to the wire, that's going to be a lot of fun. Columbus and Hitchcock, of course, that one has been back and forth all night long, and that one's still tied into that 3rd quarter, and then East Chambers now a 14-8 lead in that game. So a lot of these games coming down to the wire.
It's a good time to give a plug to TexanLive.com. This is the time. If you really want to dial into that Columbus-Hitchcock game, you don't want to miss a second of it, switch over to TexanLive.com where you can watch us talk about all the games, and we have the quad box and the red zone style theme that we've got here with this show. It's a great show, but if you want to specifically watch Columbus versus Hitchcock,
and you want to hear Gavin Moritz
on the
that's
call, really the draw, right?
That's
like,
why
that's
you pay.
Really the draw. Go pay to hear Gavin Moritz's sultry tones calling the Columbus Hitchcock game. I'm going to go ahead and say it's the top game in the state, and we're proud to have it on TexanLive.com.
And it, again, I've said it 100 times, but that has been living up to the billing all night long. Tie game into the 3rd. China Spring and Waco La Vega. Looks like China Spring starting to really move away with that score. Still early on in that 2nd half, but they put up 38 points now.
Yeah, they were able to convert a touchdown on that first possession, which really put Waco La Vega's backs against the wall. Look, Waco La Vega is a really good team year in and year out. They're able to step up and win some games. They've made their own appearances in the state championship at AT&T Stadium in recent memory. But the China Spring offense really seems to be hitting on all cylinders. As we look at some of the scores here, Nick, from 4AD1.
Yeah, and you see, a couple of really good games. Of course, China Spring 38-21, and it's that score correct. That's a big upset alert for the number 1 team right there. Chapel Hill looked like they were down. We'll look and see, but this game going final. Allen with a big statement on the road, taking down number 13 ranked McKinney. And the Allen Eagles improved to 5-2 on the year overall and 4-0 in district play. And of course, that will be a huge matchup when they take on Prosper. Those will be the 2 remaining undefeated teams at the moment in that district. And now we got a couple more explosive plays in this game, Hitchcock and Columbus.
Yeah, and it looks like Columbus is able to get the ball back here. I was watching it a little bit earlier, and they had a horrendous punt that set up Hitchcock with tremendous field position. It looks like Hitchcock was not able to capitalize on that field position here, as Adam Schobel has his team on the plus side of the field, moving in close to the red zone with the ball on the 25-yard line. And you know, Adam Schobel was the quarterback here, but you see him shifting over. Number 4 is another Schobel. That's John Schobel, who is going to be a D1. Oh, explosive run here.
Oh, wow. The little pitch out, and really just a whole lot of space and a big touchdown. The explosiveness by the halfback there.
Tyvone Whitehead was able to catch that in. He looked really explosive on that run, didn't he?
So Columbus taking the lead in the third quarter on a little pitch out. And again, that one's been a lot of fun, and Columbus the latest to find the end zone.
Yeah, and that's big points right there. Points have been hard to come by in the second half, but it's still only the third quarter in that game. We already have a game going final between Allen and McKinney. This game's only in the third quarter, so plenty of time for Hitchcock to mount a comeback here and potentially pull victory from the jaws of defeat down by 7.
Yeah, like you said, plenty of time left in that one. As we take a look, Cedar Hill and Skyline, this is a defensive struggle, 14-7 between these two teams, an explosive play inside the 5-yard line now.
Yeah, this is actually a huge game with district implications when you're talking about Cedar Hill and Skyline, as these two teams really in one of the most talented districts. You know, you've got Duncanville and DeSoto at the top. As a matter of fact, I think Duncanville and DeSoto are set to play each other next week or the week after in a really big district clash there in District 11-6A. But Cedar Hill and Dallas Skyline are vying for the 3rd, 4th spots to get into the playoffs. So this is a huge game as these two teams try to take each other out and get a foot up on one another to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, of course, we look, Mansfield suffered the loss last night. They're 2-2 now in district play. Waxahachie holding on to that number 4 spot. And you look, Cedar Hill, Dallas Skyline, they're at the moment on the outside looking in. But for a victor tonight, that sets them up very well, trying to get into one of those top 4 spots in that district.
Yeah, and you look at the district standings right now, I kind of hedge my bet towards my friend Matt Stepp and what he likes to say about who's in the playoffs. And of course, you can see Matt Stepp's playoff projections on TexasFootball.com every week. Now that the playoffs are getting near and near, he projects Cedar Hill in that 4th spot right now, as they still have games against Mansfield, Dallas Skyline, and Waxahachie in front of them. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
And how about, when we get that showdown, DeSoto and Duncanville, man, that is going to be a lot of fireworks there on the field between those two.
That's a heavy hitter.
Yeah.
That's a heavy hitter.
And again, we were talking at the beginning of the show, we were looking at the highlights. Who can slow down Duncanville? Mansfield, the latest to have their chance, weren't able to do so. 51-0 Duncanville win. But you have a feeling that DeSoto is going to be able to make it a very interesting game.
John Kay's North Shore squad did a good job of slowing down the Duncanville offense in the state championship game last year. Last year's DeSoto, I think you got to outscore Duncanville on most weekends. It's going to take a defensive genius, in my estimation, to be able to slow them down. And of course, Coach K now has moved on to be a position coach at Rice. So that tells you everything that you need to know about what type of a high school coach he is. Now the North Shore head coach is Willie Gaston, but the only way we see those two teams is if everything plays out right and they meet each other in the state championship game. But the DeSoto game's lurking right around the corner, right? You know, that's a game that is on deck. And what I think that you need to see happen for the Eagles to pull the upset in that game, and I'll say it's an upset because DeSoto was the 6A Division II state champion. And Duncanville was the Division I state champion. And that's every year we're sitting in AT&T Stadium after all the dust has settled and say, why can't we see the 6A D1 versus the 6A D2 play for the ultimate championship, right? Well, you basically get to see that on Texan Live next week when Duncanville and DeSoto face off against one another. And for DeSoto to pull the upset, they have to ride the hot hand of DJ Bailey, their quarterback who's committed to Sam Houston State. He's one of the most flawless competitors in the Lone Star State. I think he's only threw 2 interceptions in his high school career. He's extremely efficient with the football. They have to possess the football a lot and try to keep Duncanville's offense off the field.
We look right here is La Vega trying to get something going in the third quarter. They're threatening, and again, that defensive front for China Spring causing some issues, but we'll take you live on the call in that contest.
The safety there, Devin Lemire, 2 weeks, 2.5 week rehab, and he was back. The good sign with Ryder Reeves, they're moving his right arm a lot, as if something was dislocated and then relocated.
Because we thought it could be something broken.
Right, but you don't usually crank around a broken arm.
And the way he's taking his jersey and pads off, it could be a shoulder, which would actually be a good sign.
2nd and 10, Rowland off right tackle. Rowland slips through a couple of tackles down to the 15, 14. 2 yards short of what he needed. It's 3rd down and 2.
We seem to say it like every week, but I'm not a doctor.
Yep.
But a separated shoulder is very easy. Put back and would be good for the next game.
Dislocated.
Not separate. Sorry.
A broken
Clearly
shoulder.
I'm not a doctor.
Shoulder in pieces. Put it back.
They got his pads off by himself, so that's...
On 3rd and short from the 13. Keeper Thornton slung down past the line again. He got it by a yard. He's to the 11, needed about the 12. 1st and 10 from the 11, 3:36. Clock stops momentarily in the 3rd. La Vega driving, trailing by 17 against China Spring. And they are putting that shoulder in a sling here. No, that's just the shirt. Let's see. So here's the good news with Ryder Reeves. He's moving everything. That's just a kid you need, man.
Yeah.
They are. They do have that shoulder, elbow, and a sling, Here's a handoff to Rowland. No, Thornton kept it, throws end zone, and way short of his intended target in the middle of the end zone. It's Dumas in coverage. It's 2nd down and 10 for La Vega from the 11 of China Spring. I know we've taken a lot of attention off the game right now, but that's a big piece. Ryder Reeves being hurt. That's a big piece. And there you see him, our cameraman, Evan Apple, getting a great shot. Evan Apple with us tonight. Ryan Martin on social media. Cameron Stewart to my left. Abby Stokes producing. Braden Murray on the stats. Sorry, Noah Torr on the stats.
Yes, but let's be accurate here.
Shouldn't have said his name out loud.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
He's big about his identity being secret. 2nd down and 10 with 3:10 to go here. Thornton hands off Rowland left tackle. He's going to walk it in. Nobody near him. 11-yard touchdown run. That is Rowland's 4th touchdown of the game. It is now China Spring 38, La Vega 27. Very frustrated China Spring defensive staff.
I mean, La Vega's doing everything right offensively other than the fact they're down 10 points because they are just wearing this team out.
All right, so you see Waco La Vega with the score. Let's take a look. We got some highlights. Dawson trying to go up 2 scores. Pearland blocking the field goal attempt, and that keeps it at a 14-7 game in the 4th quarter. But Dawson would get another opportunity just moments later, and it's going to be a run up the middle for Burgess as he goes the distance to make it 21-7. Dawson there in the 4th, and then Pearland down by a couple of scores, looking to find something. They go with a little bit of trickery. How about this as Patrick Bridges connects with McDowell for a gain of 50 yards. The ball comes out, it's scooped up, and that sets up Pearland with an opportunity inside the 15-yard line.
We're going to go back out to Maynard, New Tech, and Wimberley, and you're going to see the Wimberley defensive front getting another big spot up 58-0. And then Wimberley is going to be able to cash in another score here on a long touchdown pass over the middle of the field. 65-0 Wimberley. And let's just go ahead and say it. Congratulations, Coach Warren, on your 100th victory in Texas high school football.
That's quite the way to put up win number 100.
Yeah, it was all Wimberley right there. There was not a whole lot of Maynard New Tech highlights.
Well, we'll take another look at this game. East Chambers, this is going to be a run right up the middle and looks like another score for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I mean, what a game. You know, this has been a good game. East Chambers has been able to rack up a lot of points here in the third quarter. That's their second touchdown in this stanza, and they're largely doing it on the ground.
So that is big for East Chambers, going up a couple of scores. They've got a 4-2 record, 1-1 at the moment, you know, kind of on the outside looking in, but of course a lot of games left to be played in district play, but a pretty strong showing for East Chambers. And yeah, like you talked about, a couple of quick scores in the second half for the Buccaneers. So they take a 2-possession lead. So we go back again. This one has been so much fun. 3A level, Columbus and Hitchcock. A 31-24 lead for Columbus at the moment.
Yeah, and really that's going to be a great game, but East Chambers has a chance to now control their own destiny. Within 10-3A Division I, with a win over Anahuac tonight, that would put them with the equals, you know, put them ahead of Anahuac in the district, and they have a big tilt with the Orangefield Bobcats coming up in the future. That could be now the district championship showdown. If they can win that game, they can control their own destiny to secure the top seed for the playoffs.
And of course, a lot of time left in that game with the Panthers, but couple of quick scores for East Chambers in that second half, and the defense has been playing very well. Of course, so they're in that bottom left corner, Tomball, Memorial, and Tomball. It was a 2-possession lead at one point for Tomball Memorial, as the Cougars were able to respond with a big touchdown to bring it to a 6-point game, and this in the fourth quarter. Looks like it's going to come down to the wire in that crosstown rivalry.
Yeah, and the Tomball offense is coming back onto the field. They're backed up here on the 15-yard line, but they do have a chance to cash in a score here, and a touchdown and an extra point wins in this game. As you see, couldn't tell if that pass flew out of bounds or if they were able to convert it. It looks like Tomball Memorial's got a little bit of a celebration going on, so it must have been an incompletion or possibly an interception there.
And of course, we heard from Sean Bajani, who's on the call in that one. It's been a very fun atmosphere in that rivalry game as we take a look at some of the scores. 5A Division II. How about Frisco Emerson and Argyle? That's been a very fun game so far, tied at 34 apiece.
That is a coming out party, I would say, for Frisco Emerson in a lot of ways. Argyle is a team deep in tradition, deep in history in the North Texas area. Of course, Frisco Emerson is led by Michael Hawkins Jr., who's committed to the University of Oklahoma. He's a 4-star quarterback. His dad, Mike Hawkins, played at OU, and his younger brother, Malik Hawkins, leads that defense from his safety spot. He's got an offer from a lot of schools, and trying to get him on the other side of the Red River is Texas, who recently extended him a scholarship offer as well. So something to keep a close eye on. That's a really intriguing game between Frisco Emerson and Argyle.
Yeah, so again, some of those scores. Now we take a look at Division I. Alito, we saw some of their highlights. I mean, 42-0. That's not surprising. Longview up 63-0 over North Mesquite. A lot of these games not very close. The close one, Cleburne and Red Oak, but very solid lead for Red Oak.
Yeah, shout out to our production staff who picked out some really great spotlight games, and some of these games are getting away from some of the other teams in these district matchups. Of course, Longview rolling their 63-0 over North Mesquite. Shout out to their running back, also an OU commit, Taylor Tatum, who actually set the touchdown record mark last week for Longview with his 61st touchdown of his career. He's now the all-time touchdown leader there at Longview, a team that's deep in Texas high school football history.
That's pretty impressive to be able to put yourself top of the record books in a program like that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They've been playing football for a long time, as long as I've been alive.
Who knows, maybe putting some records together at the next level. We'll see. But yeah, you're talking about a big shout out to our producers, Mallory Hartley, Ashley Pickle, able to get some huge games for our spotlight games that have been a lot of fun to watch. And talking about Tomball Memorial looked like a big moment of this game coming up late in the fourth quarter. Looks like Tomball Memorial looking for an opportunity for a big defensive stop, as this is going to be caught at the 10, trying to get toward the marker, but nowhere close. Tomball Memorial with a big stop. The Wildcats defense just swarming to the ball carrier, not getting a lot of options for the Cougars.
Yeah, it's actually an interesting point to make about this game. Tomball Memorial is a team that has heavily relied on its offense to win them games, and now this season they've had to turn to their defense. And you can see him rising up here on that stop, and we'll see if Tomball can convert, and they were not able to convert here, and the coaches on the Tomball Memorial sideline are out on the field with a little bit of a celebration there, as that was a huge defensive stop. So Tomball Memorial's having to dial up some innovative ways to win games, and if you can win a game against your crosstown rival, that's a big deal. You know who's going to own the Whataburger tonight.
And again, not only because it's the crosstown rivalry, but you look at the implications there in the standings. The Wildcats trying to give the Cougars their first district loss of the year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, that's a big game, and if Tomball Memorial can hold on to win that game, that's going to put them in a really good spot within that district. Of course, they've already lost a game to Klein Collins, so Klein Collins has full control of that district right now, barring any upsets, but this puts Tomball Memorial in a really good spot to capitalize on a playoff berth.
Yeah, and you talked about maybe which school will kind of own the Whataburger tonight. Of course, that was always a great feature back in my high school days. Yeah, after the game, all get down to the Whataburger. And again, this is just one of the many things that just make Texas high school football so much fun. The whole Friday evening, Friday night atmosphere, always a lot of fun across the Lone Star State. And how about Waco La Vega? They got a couple of quick scores, and it's a one-possession game, still an entire quarter to go.
Yeah, they're not going away at all. That is a way to step up there, and it looks like it was a huge defensive play there for Waco La Vega to potentially cash them in for a touchdown.
Wow, so, I mean, again, we're talking about Waco La Vega, very good program, but, we're thinking China Spring was really going to run away with it, but, I mean, that's a very close game, so very surprising. And, again, a whole quarter to go on that matchup.
Country. Now the officials call a timeout. They want to talk something over.
Wouldn't this be interesting if they just decide to call it a touchdown?
Yeah, now oh, okay, Cam, now they're bringing all the officials together. There's no way. Looking at the replay here, I mean, a great run from Roland as he gets across the 50-yard line, tracks inside the 30. Ryan Henry's forcing him out of bounds. Give me a little more juice here, and then, yeah, I think he does.
Yeah,
he
steps
with
that
sideline.
left foot, yeah.
At the 28, about the 27, 28-yard line. The officials got it correct. It should be 1st and 10 La Vega from around the 27. That's where it is.
And they're going to stick with that, yep.
Yep, that's going to be the call, and they got it right. That's tough in real time to nail down. And it's tough to take that touchdown away from the kid, but that's the right call here. 1st and 10 for the 27.
Schobel fires. It is. Looks like they ruled out a catch there. As we bring up 2nd down here. As we go down inside of 9 minutes here left to play. As on the catch was Anthony Shorter. As it brings up now 2nd down here at about 3 from the 12-yard line. Second and 3 I formation. Schobel, pitch out, Tyvon Whitehead turning the corner with a cutback. Whitehead into the end zone, touchdown Columbus. Tyvone Whitehead for the 4th time tonight with 8:27 left. And it's a 2-score Cardinal lead for the first time in this ballgame. (37-24) Cardinals. Extra point trying to come from Javier Mendoza.
So you hear Gavin Moritz on the call for the first time tonight. Columbus with a 2-possession lead, and it comes in the 4th quarter. That is a huge score for Columbus, looking to go 8-0 on the season.
Yeah, and looking to avenge a 28-33 loss to Hitchcock last year. So that could be a big win for Coach Schobel there at Columbus as he's trying to get his team to secure a district championship, which Hitchcock's been in complete control of over the last couple of seasons. Just talking about this La Vega score, it looked like to us that they had a meeting, the officials had a meeting, and they ruled that the player was out of bounds on the long touchdown run from earlier, but Waco La Vega is able to regroup here and punch it in again, looking for an extra point to make this a 3-point ball game. And what a tremendous game between China Spring and Waco La Vega. As you can say it, this is the time of year where anything can happen in Texas high school football, but to overlook a 5-2 La Vega team would probably be a mistake.
Yeah, and it looked like that call, having the runner out around the 30-yard line, did not take any wind out of the sails of Waco La Vega, as they just need a couple of more plays to punch it back into the end zone, and that a 3-point game between a couple of 5-2 teams, as Waco La Vega trying to send a statement to China Spring. Of course, there's a whole nother quarter to go in that contest. I mean, some of these games have just been absolutely so much fun. And how about Anahuac able to get back on the board, a 21-15 game with about half a minute to go in the 3rd.
Yeah, this is a game that it looks like we were talking about, this is like the best defensive game that we had. And since we made that statement, it's been nothing but offensive fireworks between Anahuac and East Chambers. These two teams are going at one another. And hey, I'm just glad that they didn't go away, right? Like they got knocked onto the mat and decided to get up before the 10 count to make this a heavyweight fight.
Well, one game that has been another defensive struggle right here in the Metroplex. Hebron taking on Flower Mound. This is a 7-7 game in the 3rd quarter. Hebron driving an opportunity. Let's take a look over that way, and that's Jacob Mitchell in the end zone for the score. Gives Hebron the 14-7 lead in the 3rd quarter. Now Hebron trying to get a field goal, adding on. The kick is blocked, and it returned. A scoop and score for Flower Mound as the convoy of blockers down the sideline, and Flower Mound able to tie the game on a blocked field goal attempt, scooped up and returned all the way back. 14-14 game into the 4th quarter. An opportunity now for Flower Mound, tipped at the line, picked off Hebron with the turnover this time, as the defense with a big stop for the Hebron team. And that's down around the 20. Sticking in the 4th quarter, Flower Mound looking for an opportunity to take the lead, scrambling around midfield, taking a shot deep. It's picked up at around the 22-yard line, and that gets into the red zone. Again, a 14-14 tie. Flower Mound looking to take the lead. How about the quarterback keeping it himself, bouncing off a couple of tacklers and leaping into the end zone, and Flower Mound with a 21-14 lead in that 4th quarter. It's been a lot of fun back and forth between those two teams, as it looked like China Spring almost had a big play, and they do score at the end of the 3rd quarter, so it didn't take them long to grow that lead yet again.
Look at the light show here, man. Look, everywhere we go, there's a light show nowadays. This is really cool for the players and the fans that are in attendance, as you see Cash McCollum dialing up a perfect pass right here, dropping it in the basket right over the outstretched arm of the Waco La Vega defender. That's future North Texas quarterback Cash McCollum.
Man, I like seeing that. That looks pretty good for the Mean Green coming up in the near future. But, wow, yeah, that's just a perfect pass. And, yeah, I mean, there were 51 seconds left in the 3rd quarter when we last checked in. Didn't take China Spring long.
China Spring answered the answer.
Yeah. All right, back to Anahuac. and East Chambers. I think I got it right that time.
Yeah, and Anahuac is getting their hands back on the football here. As it was an East Chambers punt, but what a great play by their special teams unit. And Anahuac is going to have to start this drive backed up deep in their opponent's territory.
Yeah, so a big defensive stop, and one of the few games that we've seen that been a little more of a defensive struggle. But again, the offense is starting to pick up steam as we are into the fourth quarter of that game. A lot of fun. 4-2 East Chambers. The Buccaneers trying to get a big win over the Panthers. How about Cedar Hill and Skyline? We were checking in on this game a little bit earlier. Cedar Hill, a 2-possession lead. And of course, we were talking about big playoff implications in this game, looking at the standings there. It's been a lot of fun. Cedar Hill, 2-possession lead.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Cedar Hill is probably one of the great turnaround stories in this year's throughout this year's schedule. This team looks completely different, and one thing that really jumped out to me when I watched them play Rockwall in week 1, a game that Rockwall dominated, quite frankly, but Cedar Hill shows signs of life because they have a tremendous offensive front led by Jordan and Devin Coleman, twin brothers in the class of 2025. They're monsters at the point of attack, and they've got a lot of other big offensive linemen as well. But a guy that I really like for their squad, his name is Zylan Scott. And get this, he's a defensive lineman running back.
Oh, my goodness.
So he's a defensive end on defense, and he's the leading rusher on the offensive side of the ball. And he's a load, as you can imagine. He's like the refrigerator. No, he's not. He's extremely athletic. He's about 6'2", 230 pounds. I mean, he's a big dude, but he is a guy who can really run and move at his size. And Cedar Hill has turned to him as a senior leader on that team. And to do that at the 6A level, to play on both sides of the ball in that manner is – it's a huge accomplishment, and he's like the heart and soul of that team on both sides of the ball.
Wow. Very cool story there. And Columbus, Hitchcock, again, a 2-possession lead for Columbus in the fourth quarter, trying to move to 8-0 on the season. And we take a look at some of the scores in the top teams in 6A. North Shore making easy work of Beaumont Westbrook in that game. How about South Lake Carroll putting up 70 on Keller Central? That's a huge showing for the Dragons there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you can see Austin Vandegrift rolling over Round Rock as well. You know, that's another team with a lot of talent on its squad, led, of course, by the big offensive lineman Blake Frazier that we talked about during their Crouton Corner segment earlier tonight. And then under center, you have Deuce Adams, a Louisville quarterback commitment who is a true dual threat, but he's an extremely heady quarterback who rarely makes mistakes, and that's another team who you need to really keep a close eye on as the playoffs approach.
And then we also saw DeSoto, a pretty decisive win over Mansfield Lake Ridge, that other score there for the top 6A schools. And again, back to this one, China Spring and La Vega.
La Vega's already got the ball in plus territory here on the 26-yard line, so this is a real fun game. And Nick, I got some clarification. The DeSoto Duncanville game is in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Ooh. So not next week. In 2 weeks is when that game is going to go down. And I'd like to be a fly on the wall for that one. As a matter of fact, maybe I'll go to that game.
There we go.
And La Vega cashes one in here. What a quick strike for the Waco La Vega offense here. 45-41, extra point pending.
I don't know. And I know you said not to overlook a 5-2 La Vega team, but for them to put up now 42 points against China Spring, I mean, is that a little bit surprising?
It is a little bit surprising because, you know, China Spring is not a team that gives up a whole lot of offensive points. They did give up 63 points to Melissa, but Melissa's one of the best teams in the Lone Star State, especially on the offensive side of the football. So it's an interesting development, to say the least. But, of course, Coach Hyde's one of the best coaches in the state. You know, make no mistake about it.
Yeah, East Chambers looks like a huge touchdown play. As we'll see if we can get a replay. But obviously a lot of excitement over there for East Chamber with under 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, we might see the replay after the extra point here. It looks like East Chambers was able to cash in a touchdown. And, man, it's been a lot of offensive action in this game down the stretch.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, but Man, wow, East Chamber now looking to put up 28 points. Looks like the kick is good, so a big score for East Chambers with 7:27 to go in the fourth quarter. And let's see if we can get a replay on that one, but it looked like an exciting play just based off of the reaction there by the East Chamber players. Maybe not. They fooled us.
They fooled us. I thought we were going straight to the replay there, and it looks like Dallas Skyline has got the ball back here from Cedar Hill. I mean, I want to give a little bit of a shout out to the Dallas Skyline coaching staff who picked up their first win. You know, it's a new staff. They got their first win with Coach Coleman with that new staff at Skyline earlier this year against Frisco Independence, and two teams in that district who are looking up after, down seasons last year in 2022 are Cedar Hill and Skyline.
All right, I think we got a replay now on that East Chambers score. Oh, it's going to be a defensive score.
That
is
backbreaker
tough
for the Anahuac offense there.
Yeah, so just a miscommunication. And East Chambers, they're able to take advantage on the missed snap. And they get a big score that way. And how about this? We see some more defense right there inside of the red zone.
It was John Schobel there making contact with Chubby Jones and was able to limit him from making a big-time play. But Hitchcock does have the ball here with a chance to put up some points, but it may be too little, too late, trailing 38-24
and again, you were
late in the fourth quarter.
You were talking about earlier, Hitchcock missing a couple of their key players who were out due to injury earlier in the game.
Yeah, got injured in this game, which is unfortunate. Good to see that Kelshawn Johnson was able to come back onto the field. Maybe his injury isn't so significant, but our thoughts are with Damian McDaniel, who was carted off earlier in this game. He's one of the most exciting players in Texas high school football, and we hate to lose him, to not be able to watch him for the rest of the year.
Yeah, so hopefully a speedy recovery for him, but it's going to be, again, still a little bit of time there in the fourth quarter, but this has been a fun game in Columbus. 38 points for him tonight against Hitchcock. That one has been a lot of fun back and forth, and only until recently it's been either tied or a one-possession game, and Columbus finally able to get a two-possession lead. As we go back to Gavin Moritz on the call in Hitchcock, Texas.
Lloyd Jones III makes a cut, and he's down just shy of the 5 to about the 6. So they get about half the yardage back they needed on 3rd and goal from the 13, down inside the 7 or so. 5:15 left, and it brings up a huge 4th and goal here for Hitchcock from about the 6-yard line. Play clock at 20, game clock at 5 minutes. Play clock down to 8. Hitchcock here needing a touchdown on this play. 4th and goal from the 6 to stay alive. And play is blown dead at the snap of the football. So you have a timeout called by the Bulldogs. With 4:43 left, we'll step aside. A big 4th and goal from the 6 coming up when we come back. The game potentially on the line here for Hitchcock at home.
So we'll see if Hitchcock can convert there on 4th down, trying to stay alive. About 5 minutes again. Gavin Moritz on the call. That will do it for us here in the studio, but if you want to keep tuned in on that game and listen to Gavin Moritz on the call the final few minutes, you can watch that on Texan Live. But again, Greg, I mean, so many exciting games tonight. Final thoughts on what has been a very exciting week, number 8.
Well, I mean, you touched on it. If you want to watch the end of the Hitchcock-Columbus game, go ahead and tune on in Texan Live. And really, there were some heavy hitters tonight. You know, Allen pulling off a huge victory over McKinney. That was a big win. And, of course, Anahuac and East Chambers going down to the wire as well. You saw East Chambers making a huge defensive play, but there's still a whole quarter to go in that game. So that's a game that you want to check out.
Waco La Vega.
Yeah.
Putting up some big numbers against China Spring.
You said Friday the 13th. I mean, I know that both teams are 5-2, so you probably But China Spring was a pretty heavy favorite, and that game looks to be like it could be like that Friday the 13th game heading down the stretch. That's the one I'm checking out as soon as we're off the air.
There we go. Hey, well, again, it's always great to have you. We hope to have you back in here soon. It's always a lot of fun having Greg Powers here in the studio.
Man, I'd love to come talk football with you any week.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We hope you had as much fun watching as we did here in the studio. What has been a very exciting week number 8. But that'll do it for us tonight. And again, a lot of those games still going on TexanLive.com. For our producers, Mallory Hartley and Ashley Pickle. For our director, Blaine Tatum, making his directorial debut tonight. I am Nick Laupius for Greg Powers. We want to say good night and enjoy your weekend. This has been a wrap on week number 8 of Texas Football Tonight.